Welcome to the Gangcast, aka the Games and Not Games podcast. I'm Janet Garcia, and joining me as always is Isaiah Smith.
Hello.
How are you doing?
Doing pretty good.
That's good.
Yeah, we getting some good stuff. We're at the home stretch for our talks today, so it's feeling good. Feeling good.
Nice. Yeah, same. I think. This is like a dark sounding share, but I was playing Everhood 2.
Everhood?
Yeah, Everhood 2 yesterday. Didn't end up being a game I think I want to stick with, but it has this really cool opening, funnily enough, similar to Keep Driving, where it has this questionnaire. Mm-hmm. And one of the questions is, are you depressed? And I'm like, you know what? I'm not. I'm actually doing really good. You know what?
Man.
I'm like, you know what? I don't think I actually am. The options are yes, no, I don't know. And I was like, do I want to go with no or I don't know? And I'm like, I think I know that I'm not depressed. Like,
that's pretty good.
That felt pretty good. I was like,
a pretty good place to be.
This is nice. I'm like, you know what?
You know, not everyone gets there. You know,
I was like, I think I'm doing all good. I'm doing pretty good.
Some of us are struggling. You know,
yeah.
Oh, you're out here,
reach out to those around you. Yeah, shout out. You know, yeah. So for some people, that might be the only time they get asked that. You know,
it is true. Yeah, you know, video games are sometimes the world we wish we lived in. As much as the world we are.
Yeah, but today we're going to be getting into continuing our time capsule for games, and we're going to be talking about running for not games, which shout out to the mail. We got some mail about running from like last November, and we said we're going to get to it. We just want to space, have this stuff. And this is us getting to it. So yeah, right in to the show, and we might use it as a topic depending on if it seems to fit the bill. But
hell yeah.
Let's get into games.
Let's talk games.
So video game time capsule, we've been working on this for a couple episodes. We're at the home stretch. Mm-hmm. The time capsule is trying to represent console gaming from the big three. That's Nintendo, PlayStation, and Xbox, with the priority is quality, but the second priority is diversity among genre. I say just generally genre, and a little bit franchise too. It's hard to not just like, you can just make this, which maybe we should do this sometime. It'll be faster. Just all Marios. Like can we just put all the Mario Paint, Mario Maker, like Mario?
It would be a stacked list.
Mario actually. This is a whole different topic. Maybe we just do a Mario Day. Mario Day's Monday, so you know, at the time this is going up on Mario Day.
Yeah, happy Mario Day, everyone.
Yeah, although I'm just kind of gonna feel that way because we're just trying to get rid of them in these lists to try to make it more diverse in franchise. But honestly, if you look at Mario, he has almost everything covered. Platformers,
a little bit.
Kart racer, fighting games, party games,
sports games.
He wasn't.
Strikers was supposed to be good, right?
I mean, he contributed, but is he? Which one?
Strikers.
I mean, is it? I feel like he's contributing, but like
he was
maybe
NBA
let's
Street,
not.
All right,
that's when he was at his best. But that's just because they basically like. I like how back in the day they're like, what if we just modded our own game ourselves and just fucked around with the game? Anyway, but yeah, that's kind of an interesting thing. Like, if you really put all the different Marios together, you can really see a lot of things.
Yeah. But
some won't be that good, but you'd see a lot.
So yeah, this is a list of games that, like, theoretically, if like, I don't know, a million years from now, someone unearthed this list of games that we put together, and it is a list that we put together. So there are just inherent omissions of games that just we didn't play, or a series that we just weren't familiar enough with to put on the list. But it's like, all right, this is we're rebuilding gaming almost. Like, this is like a blueprint for the breadth and depth that you can get.
And I think we're rebuilding gaming in this example with the goal of making what we had. Because I ain't gonna lie, if we want to just like build it as best as it could be, it might look slightly different. It might look slightly different. Not too different, but a little different.
Yeah.
Again, I'm looking at that Wii Sports and I'm saying,
you're crazy. Wii Sports definitely stands the test of time.
Yeah, but I don't think we need to replicate. I think we learned in real time that we don't need to be replicating that formula.
I think we learned that we should replicate.
No, I think that's the problem with, and then we're getting into the actual games that are, but that's the problem with a lot of sometimes you try to bring something back and you realize like it was just a moment in time. It wasn't the best time ever. It was just a good time.
And that's fine. That's fair.
But I think we found that out already with like Switch Sports, right? Because it wasn't necessarily just that it didn't respond well or something. Nothing was wrong with it, but no one cared anymore.
But we wouldn't have that. The Wii Sports and the Wii was a stepping stone to getting the Switch.
It was. I'm not saying we should get rid of the Wii. I'm just saying that if we gave this to aliens and said, make console gaming again, like, I don't want them to get distracted by Wii Sports. But I think, again, in terms of trying to represent, this is what we made societally. I think Wii Sports is a big part of society, for sure. You know, we never said society was good. Anyway, we're done. Isaiah, enough of dragging the Wii. It's really...
You're the only one dragging the Wii.
I know, that's an old Ben Hansen joke that I think is really funny, where he just says something, like, rude, and then says... Jeff, that was out of line. And honestly, it gets me every time. It's a good bit. So we're basically looking at last gen from the time of this recording. That's Xbox One, PS4, PS Vita, PSVR, Wii U, and the 3DS. Those are the consoles we're looking at. Yeah, and I guess platforms in a way, because like it's funny, the PSVR is interesting in that it is the most console peripheral that exists, because technically you can't do it on its own. Yeah. It's not like it's, you know, but I do feel like it is enough of a platform that I think it makes sense to be in here.
Sure.
But it is like the odd man out in that, like, you could not just buy a PSVR headset and play these games. Like, you need the console, which is also true for PSVR 2. Spoilers for PSVR 2. All right. Xbox One.
Honestly, this one was a little tough.
Finally, it's Xbox era. Finally,
no,
it's here.
Because I think there were enough games. I played enough games on the Xbox One that, or at least games that either were on the Xbox One or like even if I played them elsewhere, like on PC or PlayStation or something, I associate them heavily with Xbox. That I was like, you know what, this is my list here. I'm pretty happy with my list. It's not what I think you would think when you think Xbox, but I think everything I have would make you think Xbox, if that makes any sense.
What's your first one?
First one, honestly, kind of low-key banger. Forza Horizon 4.
That's on my list also.
Yeah. It's really good. Turns out those Forza guys, they know how to make a racing game. This is also a game I wish I played more of, right? This is definitely in the waning era, my waning era of racing games, where I was like, I've done so much. None of these are Burnout Paradise again. I'm so tired of all these racing games. But Forza was a pretty good surprise. Beautiful game. Yeah. Honestly, all the Forza games are pretty good looking. But yeah, no, really, I don't know how much you played or did you beat it, or were you like just kind of dabble?
I don't think I beat it, but I did play quite a bit of it. When Forza Horizon 4 dropped, it felt like everyone was aware that it was dropping. Yeah. It was a moment in time.
Yeah.
There's an incredible game. I think the thing that I miss, this is just a taste and sensibilities thing, is I think I miss like the hood undertone of the old racing games. I think that's what we're missing.
That's fair.
Because I feel like old racing games, they're about, like, I'm still drawn to street racers, It's like, if we're not really committing a crime, we're just kind of judging a nice guy. Yeah. I'm like, I want the crime. That's the big part of the racing culture. But letting go of the lack of crime in Forza Horizon 4, it is an incredible racing game. Like you said, it looks beautiful. It runs really well. And I think they're really fun hybrids between, the hardcore sims and the casuals. Like, it feels more serious than the arcade street racers that I think we favor, but it's not as hard to parse out as like motorsport. Like, motorsport is like not impossible, but it's just very like simmy, and it's drier for that reason to me. Like, I'm not really into, I don't want to be literally behind the wheel. I want to like look at my car from afar and hang out. Also, it has that dope rewind feature. I don't remember if that's been in all of the Forza Horizon games, and I'm sure that's like a very used mechanic in games like this. So I'm not going to pretend like they made, put it on the map or whatever. But that was such a cool part, and I think it's a fun way to look at what goes into racing a car, because so often, you hit something bad, you do a rewind, then you realize, actually, I got to go farther back because I made this mistake. A mistake I made like 10 seconds ago.
I'm only just now hitting
the impact is coming in. And I think that's kind of fun. I also like this even just talking about it makes me want to play the games again, because I liked what they do with the open world there, where in lieu of, again, old school street racers, very tight structure, you know, you're kind of just going from like objective to objective. This really makes the Forza Horizon games really make the world part of the experience. And it's like, you want to just have fun driving through an area, look at pretty environments, and you're rewarded for your exploration. And like the things that you think would be there are there. It's like you go up a hill and you make a jump or something, and it's like, oh, you got, you know, a little coin or something. I forgot what it is. They're like there's like signs that you like break or whatever. It's like, what if Breath of the Wild, but you were a car? Which sounds awesome, and it is
awesome. Any road
awesome.
you see, you can climb.
Yeah, I was trying to look up on YouTube. I can't remember. What was the big thing from this one? Was it like you racing the train, you racing the helicopter? They had like this wild like set. Like a lot of these games have like kind of big, almost like
that's unfortunate because
what people like about Uncharted. I feel like you get some of that in the Forza Horizon games because they have these reigns where it'll be like, or these races,
like those like Fast and Furious kind of moments.
Yeah. And was this the one that was Australia? No, Friction. No, this is the Great Britain one. I think. Which one was Australia?
They honestly, the locations kind of blend together a little bit with me. I know this is the one that got like some Lego stuff, which was really dope.
Yeah, was that the Lego one?
I think they both. I think
the
4 and 5 got Lego stuff. But this is like the first Lego stuff. I was like, oh, snap. All right, cool.
Yeah, it was cool. It's a good time.
Yeah.
And then just for my own mind, 5 only came out on like this gen, right? Or is that also a double dip? It's a double dip one, I guess. Also, 5.
Is it? That's surprising.
So then maybe should we have 5 instead of 4 then?
Well. Oh man,
I do feel like 4 kind of popped off hard.
I feel like 4 is what revigorated.
Yes,
because I'm gonna be honest, I didn't know the name Forza until
I also kind of agree with that.
Like I knew Motorsport in the sense that like it was the not Gran Turismo series. You know what I mean? But I feel like Horizon was like 4 with Horizon was the one that like, oh no, this is like something to keep an eye out.
I also feel like with it being older, I'm pretty sure it first. When did the Series X come out? Now I should grab these years before, but it's like also I associate it more with the 1 versus like newer one. I kind of had this problem with PS4, PS5, where it's like, well, you can play it on 5, but like technically came out on 4 and was like, so I think we'd probably still stick with 4, but I just wanted to look at that a little bit more. These are cool. Which one was Australia? Why is that 3? Like maybe that was like a million.
So
years
I know
ago.
4 was the like tropical island, or 5 was the tropical island one. Like the Mexico kind of.
No, that's 5. 5 is Mexico.
Yeah. I don't
I thought you said 4.
which one you mean for Australia. So maybe it was 4.
Yeah, I think actually, funnily enough, for me, I think 3 was actually the one I probably played the most of. It has a lot of good Horizon, and that's the one that kind of put it for me because I think Forza Horizon 3 was the one that had like the festival structure. And I think that was the legally distinct Australia, or maybe it was just Australia. I don't remember if they care about, you know, the real life location. Yeah, okay. Yeah, 3 is the fictionalized Australia. So actually 3 is the one I played the most.
Oh, really?
But they're all kind of like the same, because 4 was Britain. I played all of them like a bit, but 3, I think 3 was the one that got me into the series.
T4 was the one that put it on my radar. So
Forza Horizon Festival, and they have. You can't really go wrong with these, I suppose. I think maybe we just stick with 4 because that was what came to mind. But yeah, I did play 3 more than 4, so maybe I think in my head 4 was 3. So maybe I'm really putting up 3. Well, I guess we'll talk about it more if we end up going with Forza as like our pick, and then kind of land on which one. And then maybe see if there's one that feels more core specific to Xbox One, because all of them, when you just do a quick Google, they all say you can play it everywhere, and it's like, okay, well, but where could I have first only played it? And I'm pretty sure that was Xbox One for me. So yeah, basically same difference. I had 3 instead of 4 actually, because I didn't. Britain was nice, but I was like, I like the festival, you know, down under. Anyway, I don't know. More stereotypes, right? Anyway, my one that I want to throw out there, Ori and the Will of the Wisps.
Okay, yeah.
This game's great game. Banger.
Great game.
Nothing really negative to say about Ori and the Will of the Wisps. I dare you. You can't really come up with anything. It's an incredible game.
Is it the second one? Or is it the first one?
I mean, Ori and the Blind Forest is what I meant.
Okay.
Just, because that's you can technically probably play that on one.
Yeah.
Ori and the Blind Forest. Now, Ori and the Will of the Wisp, I feel like you can maybe say some things in it.
Yeah. Blind Forest? Really
I only barely started Will of the Wisp. I really loved Will of the Wisp from when I started, but I meant to say Blind Forest. All these start to blend together. Yeah, great Metroidvania.
It turns out putting a number in the title actually does help keep track of which one is.
I don't know. Look at my Forza Horizon 4+3 because I was kind of having those flipped around. Yeah. Yeah, Ori and the Blind Forest is just a really, really well made Metroidvania. I will say my bias is I very clearly have a soft spot for Metroidvanias that are platformers. I feel like, why are we not doing this more? I think it helps reinvigorate the style of what, one might come to expect with Metroidvania, which is typically more directly combat oriented. But what I like about Ori and the Blind Forest is that the platforming very much is the combat. It's a lot of like positioning and sort of sending projectiles back to enemies. And I think they do a great job. This is true of any Metroidvania, but it does a good job of giving you a lot to explore, but you're never really like totally fucked and like lost out of your mind. Not to my memory. I'm sure it's probably like at least one thing. It also has one of my favorite sequences in a video game ever, which is it called the Genku tree? In Ori and the Blind Forest.
Oh, where you're like going up the trunk of the tree?
Yeah. I think Ginkgo tree, I think is what it's called. It was such a, like, that, semi-spoilers for potentially another game I put up there, I'm not sure. But if you've played Control and the ashtray maze, it's not as awesome, I guess, as the ashtray maze, but it gave similar vibes. Which is to say that there's like a thrill and energy. It's also harder than the ashtray maze. Like the ashtray maze is not too hard, which is fine. It's not really supposed to be. Anyway, but just like a really incredible platforming sequence. A classic construction of like rushing, I think, water coming up underneath that kind of keeps you moving, but it feels very fresh just by being a very antiquated construction. And it's one of those things where I finished it and I immediately like hit record. Of course, I never looked at the recording again. That's why I have all this stuff. But it was just like, it felt like such a feat to have done it. Yeah. And I think it's special when a game can match the player's emotion with the intensity of the moment. And I feel like in the game that was meant to be an intense moment. I felt the intensity, the achievement popped when you got out because they knew, like, everyone was on the same page. Like everyone knows this is hard. It's a big deal. It's wild. Yeah. Yeah, it's so great. And it's just like a sweet story. I will say, maybe I'm the asshole. I didn't cry playing Ori.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of people told me they cried playing this game.
Really?
And I'm like, I think...
I mean, okay, I guess...
if you're a sensitive gamer, step out of the room for 1 second while I say this be my piece. I feel like some of y'all just be crying over anything. Like, I don't know. Like... And it's a cute story, and it definitely is sad. Like, it was, the opening. It's like, it's very much like, the force is decaying, and then it does that. What I think of is like the journey, slow step. Like, oh, he can't continue anymore, and that is sad. Oh yeah, that's sad. That's really beautifully shown. Like, you guys did a good job with this. Like, I think the team did a good job. I don't think the team needed to write it sadder, but I'm just like, the amount of people were like, oh my god, that beginning. Oh, try not to cry. I'm like, it's guys. We just met this guy 1 second ago. I don't know. Yeah. I didn't find it to be this big heartbreaking thing, but I think it's like a nicely, very like animated film come to life. It's like kind of the vibes that Kano was going for in some ways, but like different art style. Anyway, I don't know if you have anything you want to add about Ori.
I liked Ori. If I didn't put a cap on my honorable mentions, it definitely would have been there.
Wow, didn't even make the honorable mentions.
Well, again, for the diversity aspect of it, like, it's like, all right, well, we already got Metro Fusion, which is
Metro Fusion is better than
the same, but it is
very
that same. It's very different in execution, but not in like they are the same genre of game.
They are the same genre of game. Yes.
So I was like, you know what? I'd rather leave some room for something else.
That being said, though, I think this is one of people are always saying, where are the Xbox bangers? I think this franchise and this is one of those ones where that's all you, baby. Like y'all put that up in the rafters. Yeah. Like it is the good game's ready now, and it's Ori and the Blind Forest.
Cool. Then for me, my next one, which I know you'll also agree with it. I'm gonna go Inside.
Okay.
I wanted to get something a little more story, a little more narrative in here. It's still a little puzzly. I don't think you can. I guess someone could probably argue it's a little platformery, but I would argue it's just more story, environmental puzzle.
I think you like jump. You are physically capable of jumping, but I would not call it platformer.
Inside's a great game. You know, without getting into spoilers too heavy or anything like that. It's kind of like you're just like this boy who finds himself trying to go through a factory. It's a left to right kind of game where you're going from, just through the environment, almost into these like little vignettes of scenes and environments to like figure out how to just get through it and get to the next part. No real dialogue, tons of environmental storytelling, but it is also like mostly a black and white game. I think they use like red as like an accent color for a lot of things.
It's like very muted coloration. Not quite grayscale, but it's like desaturated. It's like a desaturated art style.
A fantastic fun play. Again, I don't want to talk too much because it is so much of just like, it's an experience kind of game where it's like even if I did tell you everything, it would only ruin so much because so much of the game is about just enjoying the like moments that you come across. But definitely one that I recommend. And also from the people who did Limbo, which is a very similar style game. So that, but I think bigger, better, higher production, nicer fidelity, things like that.
I will say I think that Inside is like miles better than Limbo.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I would have to agree.
Which I do know, I think for a lot of people, Limbo's at 10 and Inside's maybe the 11 out of 10. But for me, Inside's like an 8 or a 9, maybe more like an 8. Like it's cool. Like, I mean, Limbo, sorry.
Sure.
I just felt like, okay, there's like dramatic puzzles. And it kind of had that, if you've played the Little Nightmares games, to be clear, I think Limbo is better than Little Nightmares. Like, I think the puzzle construction is probably just more interesting. But the drama of like, how do I do this? Ooh, a big spider impaled you. That's a lot of Limbo. And Inside has dramatic kills or failure animations and things as well. But I think because it's more realistic looking, it's still like very like artistically done. Those hit harder, but also I think the puzzle construction is more interesting. The world's more interesting. And I think they give you way more to chew on. Like there's stuff you'll see in Inside where you're like, wait, what's going on over here in this factory? But not so much that you feel like you can't understand what's happening. Like you don't really need to know anything. Like you don't need to have come up with theories. Like it's very clear that it's like, okay, well, this is someone, getting. And then I also love the Inside, the name of it, where it's like inside, and it's like, is this boy going like further inside this place? Is he actually trying to escape? Like what actually does that mean? And then also it's like inside the conspiracy theory. Like
there's a lot of as you're talking, I'm thinking about it more. I'm like, there's a lot like it's almost like they watched Severance before.
Yeah,
Severance
I know we keep mentioning
out.
Severance. We're really dating the podcast with how often we're mentioning Severance. But genuinely, if you're like, I like a thing where I can come up with theories, but it can still be like casually enjoyed. I think Inside is totally that, because there's also a lot of like cool side stuff where you'll uncover something and be like, it's almost like the equivalent, again, using the Severance comparison, when they, saw like another room other than their offices. Like, I don't really want to spoil it because people are going to watch it way older, whatever, right? It's like, oh, what's with this room? Yeah. Like Inside has those moments of like you stumble across a room and you're like, what's going on here? Just like a lot of really fun, smart interactivity. Like I adore Inside. I think it's like one of the greatest games ever, and yet I wasn't actually on my list. I'm not gonna lie to you.
Oh wow!
I'm not gonna lie to you, just because I felt like I wasn't gonna make it. I think, well, maybe it will make it. I don't know. It is a great game. I definitely will I will hear a case for Inside because it is fantastic. My other one, and this one's is tough. I got like 3 games I'm looking at. I'm trying to see what I want to pick. I don't know what I want to do here. I guess I'm going to go with my heart, and I'm going to put Control in there.
Oh,
I played Control on Xbox. I wish I actually had put it on the set because I do have the physical version because I love the game. So I got it for work, so I got a code, and played it either on Xbox or maybe I played it on PC technically. I think I technically played it on PC. But I love the game so much. I got it physical, the Ultimate Edition on Xbox, with the little steel book and the shield art cards or whatever. And yeah, this game is incredible. It is a game by Remedy. It's personally my first Remedy game that I played. I know a lot of people are. You played Max Payne, right?
I dabbled.
You dabbled,
in it.
yeah.
I definitely didn't like play the campaign.
When we got to the Max on the Pain. Yeah. So a lot of people, Max Payne is their bag for that. But this this game was like wild when this hit because genuinely, I don't know what it was. Maybe it was just the era we were in, but I didn't feel like people were actually talking about this game very much in the lead up. Like, I don't feel like it really got hyped. I don't feel like it had eyes. Maybe it did. Obviously, chime in if you're like, oh no, I was seeing everybody talk about it. Like, I remember previewing it and just kind of being like, yeah, like, oh, look, Remedy's making something. This seems funky. This seems interesting. But like, there wasn't well, now I feel like Remedy, maybe it's because they also just grown in popularity with like Control hitting and then Alan Wake. Now I feel like if Remedy's going to do anything, people are going to be fucking frothing at the mouth for it, drooling, looking over the thing. But when Control came out, again, new IP, people were just kind of like, I don't know, like, what's going on here?
I think like
Jesse Faden? Like,
what I remember is that Control looked very generic. And it wasn't until it came out and people played it and then like learned what actually the game is and recommended it and more people played it, you know, like you said, it grew popular. Like in the very beginning, a trailer for Control, especially back then, was just okay, generic sci-fi shooter kind of thing.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? And like the sauce of Control did not come across in an initial trailer. You need someone to tell you, to kind of like vouch for it a little bit, tell you why it's so good and this, that, and a third. And then you're like, oh, okay, cool, I'll try it. And then you find out, oh yeah, no, this game's great.
I think it's something about too, and I don't know, I wasn't as locked in during like the Max Payne years into content, but I think it also was, I feel like there was this unspoken thing of people being like, I don't really know if like Remedy's necessarily going to make like a great game. And I know people like the Max Payne games to a degree, but a lot of what I hear is like, I remember playing this and it's cool that you had like powers, but people don't really talk about them like wildly highly. So I wonder if people were looking at Remedy and they're like, it's kind of giving washed. Like, I don't know. I didn't have an opinion on Remedy at the time because I didn't know anything about those games and whatever. But anyway, enough about the reception and the whatever, what makes the game cool. It is just, again, it is up my alley because I love psychokinetic powers and stuff, but it's a really fun action adventure, casually third-person shooter game that I think it does. What I really like about playing Control, and there are many things, but about like the moment-to-moment action, I think they have a great push and pull between like gunplay and abilities, where it really forces you to not just sit back and like. Also, they don't really like have coded in there a lot of I'm crouching behind a box and popping up. It's like a pop-up and shooter. It's like get in there, get in the action, and use your powers to obliterate everybody. Yeah. So you are kind of positioned almost like in this godlike aspect. Like playing this game, it's not quite as good in terms of being like tactile, but it feels like playing God of War in the sense of you go in and everyone's afraid of you. Like I don't feel like, I mean, there are challenges in the game, like bosses that were hard, but I feel like the game is about learning how to decimate people. I mean, they're not people, really. They're kind of like spirits in a way. I don't know.
Creatures.
You don't have to feel bad for killing them because they're not really people. Like there are challenges still, which there are in God of War as well, but that feeling of these exist as a form of fodder, but a form of fodder that can fight back. So you feel like it's interesting. Like you have like a back and forth, and it's not just you like totally walking through, but like you're gonna get through most of these scenarios pretty easily, quote unquote, as long as you learn how to like optimize your tool set. Yeah. And funnily enough, I do think the structure is actually also similar to God of War with like you like fight to build up your like rage meter and then you like do your big move or whatever. This doesn't have like a big finish off, but it is like to get ammo back, you have to kill enemies. Yeah. So you do have to, you cannot be like passive, a scared ass. So like you have to go and fight because it's the only way you're going to survive. And yeah, they have really cool abilities. Also has a thing I'm a sucker for, which is one gun that can turn into like 4 guns. Jack 2, Control. It's all the same thing, Isaiah. And there's a lot of like really fun, weird shit that happens. I never actually got into God, what was it called? Twin Peaks or whatever. But it's like it's got that weird supernatural sci-fi stuff. Like there is, without giving things away, I think it's a side quest. I don't even think it's a main quest. But you stumble across somebody. Again, it's also Severance Code if you want to be in an office and have fucked up stuff happening. But there's a moment where you stumble across somebody who's like, oh my God, you need to help me. No one ever came to relieve me of my job, my shift here. My job is to wash this fridge. And if I stop looking at it, shit's gonna pop off. Yeah. God, please help me. And then you go and you like go into this realm and basically like fight this thing. It's like wild stuff. And there's a lot of like really cool things in this game. I played some or all of the DLC, and some of the puzzles can be like quite challenging, especially that DLC. I think you might get a kick out of it. Obviously, you would have to dust off your, you know.
I think I did the DLC.
Okay, cool. There was like some weird like mirror puzzle thing, and they just have some like really cool like little puzzles. Maybe they're again a little simpler for you to go through because you're putting 2 and 2 together, and then you're on like 4, 5, 6, and I'm like, well, I never really got to read all of 2, but I guess whatever. Yeah, it's just cool, and you can fly. So
yeah. Control's good. I think you
did you come around to it because I felt like you didn't really love the feel.
I have strong problems with the game. That mostly dealing with like combat and the systems and the way that things feel. And so for me, I just put on one hit kill and then just tried to just enjoy the story, and that was a much better time for me. But I think I can still appreciate the game for what it is, and I understand why people like it so much. I just have my own problems, huh?
There's a janitor.
Yeah. There's the janitor.
It's really cool. Yeah. The janitor.
It's also it is a pro
Isaiah
for
just
you.
hates The Office. Like,
no, it's not even that. It was just like the you like that wackiness, the weird supernatural stuff. You fuck with that. I don't fuck with that.
Yeah, you don't fuck with
I don't
art.
fuck with that heavy. So it's just like, oh, this is just like
Isaiah hates
annoying, confusing
Isaiah
story
hates art.
beats. That...
He hates women and he hates the working class. So he's like, I don't want to be this fucking sci-fi bitch hanging out with this janitor.
No, if anything, she's the president of the company now. So,
I think she's the president, like just the rector.
She is the CEO.
She's the CEO, girl boss.
Yeah,
Jesse Faden's like the final girl boss. Anyway,
yeah. So
I know I was bummed that it didn't click for you more, but
I know. I don't
know. I can't make you have taste. But
yeah,
I think the game feels great. So it's like for you to be like, this feels weird. But you're also more of like a shooter boy. So I wonder if you had like stuff you wanted out of the feedback loop that it didn't give you.
And again, it's not to say that it was bad. It was not what I liked.
Yeah.
For my last one, I really could go a couple different directions. I think I gotta go with the obvious, the biggest one. And this really could, like a Skyrim, be in multiple places we could have slotted this. I'm picking Xbox One because I think that's just where when I think this game, I think Xbox. Minecraft. I mean, it is the sandbox game of our generation. They did buy it. They owned Minecraft.
I was also like, when do we throw Fortnite in here and just take one of the slots?
You can pick again multiple platforms for that as well. But yeah, no, Minecraft. I think it originally, I played like the Java version on PC, then got the PlayStation version, and I played the Xbox and the PSP, or Vita, whatever. Like I've played it on so many different things that you can put it anywhere. But I think Xbox really started branding Minecraft with Xbox a lot.
Yeah.
Around this time. And it's Minecraft. Like Minecraft is a fantastic game. It's fun. Every time I pick it up and I play it, you always start on it, build your little dirt home, and you dig, you plant some trees, you make a bucket, get some fish and some water, and do this and that. And I'm like, this loop is fun every single time I do it. Get into the Ender Dragon and all this other stuff you can do eventually and everything like that. Once you've like mined diamond and silver gold and made suits of armors and big mansions and everything, I think it's just a fantastic sandbox game. It is a reason that it's as big as it is and why it's worth however many $1 billion. It's just a fantastic game that has stood the test of time, I think, already, like we've seen. They tried to do some offshoot Minecraft stuff that hit or miss here and there. Some stuff is really cool.
Everything is kind of just fine. Like it's like, oh, this is all right. Like
yeah,
they're kind of stuck in that Lego.
Yeah,
lane.
A little bit.
Maybe it's because I just see a block person. I'm like, that's Lego.
Yeah, no, you're not wrong. Yeah. So my last hat in the ring is Minecraft.
Wow. All right. Well, those are our 3. I have to rebold. I guess you said you have some honorable mentions you want to shout?
Excuse me. Yeah. One, I got it back there on the wall. Titanfall 2. I know Titanfall 1 was an Xbox exclusive. Titanfall 2 technically came to multiple platforms. But honestly, Titanfall 2 still has probably one of my favorite like shooter campaigns.
Sure. Yeah.
If we didn't already have a wonderful shooter with Halo on this list, I probably would have put it higher. Another one, Overwatch. Obviously on PC as well, but I played it more on consoles. Fantastic game. Introduced me to this like hero shooter kind of vibe with different game modes and characters and abilities and ults and everything like that. So great time there. Blizzard, I don't know. I guess there's Marvel Rivals now. And then last shout out is What Remains of Edith Finch, which honestly I went back and forth between that and Inside, and I only landed on Inside because it felt more Xbox to me. But I do think What Remains is probably a better game. But I think Inside kind of has the spirit of what we're looking for a little bit stronger.
Yeah, I do think I don't have What Remains on like anything on any of my list, just because I just kind of leaned more on like, I don't know, console specific stuff, like stuff that you can't play on. Not that I only pick stuff you can't play on PC, but I feel like one of our third pillar is not as PC-y. Especially too, because like I think on the, whenever we do like a more indie centric thing, that's probably where we'll see some of those appear.
I can see that.
Even though I play all my stuff on console if I can, because I like console. But What Remains is definitely better than Inside in my opinion. Yeah, it's like not even close. And What Remains is like one of the greatest games ever. It's probably like, I feel like it's probably easily in my top 20 at least. I don't know.
I can see that.
I've been trying to make that list for forever, and it's hard. It's hard to think of 100 games where you're like, all of these are really good. Because after like the first 15, you're like, all right, these all kind of suck now. It's dramatic, but Okay. So my honorable mentions, Yakuza Like a Dragon.
Okay.
Yeah, I played that on Xbox. I wonder, it's been so long. I guess I was playing that probably still on my Series X though, so it's kind of like a weird floaty one. But I believe it was on the one also, so and I played it through Game Pass, so I was kind of like, this is like Xbox culture. And
honestly, could Game Pass be entry on this?
Hell no. As much as Microsoft, I know that's what you want. Nah, it's probably UFO 50S platform. Sunset Overdrive is another really big one. Love it. So good, so fun. One of the to me, it's one of the best games on the Xbox One. And I felt like as I was looking through other like listicles online to like, refresh myself on, what's on these platforms and stuff. I feel like I didn't really see that one coming up very much. And I'm surprised because I feel like that's all the streets talk about. Maybe it's just the streets I'm on, But I feel like a lot of people do talk about Sunset Overdrive. Maybe it was a little more
I think it
cult
was
classic-y
talked about a lot when it came out. But I think since then we've had things like what's the one, the music-based one? Where everyone's like a coffee or a bean or something like that.
Coffee or a bean.
Everyone's named like a coffee.
Like chai and all that. Yeah, people are screaming listening to this. It just came out.
I didn't play it. So it's Hi-Fi Rush. I feel like once Hi-Fi Rush came out, everyone it was like a
we needed
Men in
a
Black
new
like wipe of Sunset Overdrive.
We needed a new like personable Xbox game to stand. And that was Hi-Fi Rush. Yeah, low key, it's kind of true. But yeah, that's great. And in another universe, Recore would be on here, but Recore actually kind of sucked when it came out. Is the thing, and not like and then they fixed it. Like it's like there are core problems with that game that make it like low key kind of suck. So,
God. Any entry you lean towards?
I gotta learn how to code so I can try to fix Recore. We have to build a team to remake it. Those are the games that need remakes, not fucking another Metal Gear. We know it's good, even though I'm gonna play it. So part of the problem, I guess. But yeah, every year we should fund one shit game to. Now that it's a shit game. Now it's a shit game. It's not good, but it's not shit. But like one game that like we all were disappointed in, that we get a remake of it. Because like you didn't already know you like Tony Hawk. Shut the fuck up.
Yeah, no, that's fair.
Anyway, I lean on Forza stands out to me as like racing representation. Because can you read for me the games we have so far? Because we actually forgot to do that.
So from the beginning, we have Tetris on the NES. We have Super Mario World on the SNES. We have Pokemon Yellow for the Game Boy, Super Mario 64 for the N64, Metal Gear Solid for the PlayStation, Super Smash Bros. Melee for GameCube, Metroid Fusion for the Game Boy Advance, GTA Vice City for PS2, and Halo Combat Evolved for Xbox. We have Wii Sports for the Wii. We have Castlevania Portrait of Ruin for the Nintendo DS. We have Portal 2 for the PS3. Which still holds up. We play Portal 2 at least a couple times a week now, and
the co-op campaign, yeah.
Man, still good. Final Fantasy Tactics: War of the Lions for PlayStation for the PSP. And Dead Space 2 for the 360.
I'm not gonna lie, I feel like we're eating with this list.
It's
like, whenever I look back on it, it's like pretty
list.
freaking good. Yeah. And not too many Marios. It's hard not to have 8 Marios.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, you know what the best thing was? Mario. Which that might come up later when we get to the Nintendo stuff. Yeah, so I'm drawn to the racing bit because we don't have any racing stuff. That could be cool. Racing. I think from your picks, I guess I'm lightly drawn to Minecraft. It is also like one of the greatest games ever, like Minecraft. But at the same time, it is kind of like PCE, and it's like maybe it might be better just for. But I do think you're right. Like of the big 3, like this is Xbox's bag. They literally bought the studio to make them crank out games. No, I don't know. I don't know what's going on internally. They're like, you're gonna make Minecraft stuff. Okay. So yeah, and then of my list, I mean, I think you're right with the Ori thing. It's like we already got kind of like a Metroid, and it's like, but it's a great game. It is a great game. Yeah, and then like the other one is just Forza, and then Control. It's like, and it's general good game. I think if we had a weaker lineup for Xbox One, no offense to Control, but Control would make it in like a weaker thing. But I think the fact that so I guess I lean on Forza, I suppose.
I'm cool with Forza. Do we want to do 3 or 4?
Do we know anything about like was 4 low key already like an Xbox One thing? Like, do we know any of that stuff? Because I feel like that could skew where I would want to put it or which one. It's really tough to like nail down in this modern era. I have the Xbox One came out in 2013.
So Forza 3, Horizon 3 was on the Xbox One.
Yeah.
Only.
Okay.
And
May 4 was like a simultaneous release, perhaps.
I think 4 was. Let's see if I can
grab stuff to.
Yeah. Horizon.
Yeah, because while you look that up, I think if 4 was launched on both the 1 and the X /S series. I said that backwards for some reason.
It was not launched together, but it was on both. It did launch on the Xbox One.
Okay. I think you could really go either one. I personally do favor 3 because I just liked and played 3 more. 3. But you also
it sounds like you played more than me. So
I might have, but how much did you play? You're like quick 45 minutes.
I played casually the same way that I played like more recent like Need for Speed games and stuff, where it's like, I'm jumping in, I'm doing some arcade kind of race.
Yeah, you know what? Let's go with 3. The Horizon Festival. I wonder if that's the one that had like some of those set pieces I was thinking of, because I remember that was a big. They all have trains in them though. I'm like, I don't know. There's like your racing track again. The sort of dramatics. Yeah. You know what's funny? It's like obviously this is like part of the process and like sharing stuff out and like going through the list and talking about these consoles also. But like we could have did this in the first 2 minutes. You know, it's like Forza Horizon, the Forza Horizon Festival.
Yeah.
PS4.
Yeah. Do you want to kick us off?
PS4 galore. You know, it's funny too. I know there's a lot of consoles, but I'm like, how long is this really going to take? It's actually going to take a long time to do all these.
I think it'll get quicker once we get to Nintendo. It's round. I just haven't played, so it's mostly you.
Wow. Okay. This one I'll be pretty brief with because we're gonna have to kind of look at this first. We're now facing the problem.
Yes, the
with the sequels and the not even the multi-gen, but just like the sequelness. Like, do we pick the most recent because it's kind of like maybe inherently better in a way? So, but either way, I'm gonna toss it out because one of my favorite games ever, Horizon Zero Dawn. This game,
I have it on my list.
This game 8. This game's great. I was a victim of saying, why? What? PlayStation Breath of the Wild? I don't want to play that. I'm not going to play it. Not even I don't want to play that, but I was kind of like, isn't this the game everyone says is basically Breath of the Wild? I'll get to it. But also it's worse. Okay, we'll see. And I just like never played it. I actually didn't play it until like well into, well, I guess like probably a lot of years ago at this point. But I played it late because I was like one of those people that was like, for some reason, it's like you chose which one, and no one chose Horizon because Breath of the Wild is like one of the greatest games of all time. Yeah. And Horizon is just a great game. Yeah. So it's like, okay, well, obviously, come to find out,
Horizon's it's way really
it's also way different.
It's also weird. Yes,
it is way different.
It is closer to a Ubisoft game than.
Yes. Before you leave, because I said yes, but yeah, it definitely is closer to the Ubisoft formula. But yeah, incredible game. I love the combat in this game. That's really what I love about it.
It feels so good.
This is like Monster Hunter for bitches that don't want to read and don't want to learn. That's me. Because I like some of the thrills people talk about when they talk about Monster Hunter. Obviously, they're not as high in Horizon. I'm not saying they're the same game, but just the idea of like good combat and I'm fighting like a big cool monster and I use the parts to make something. That is an appealing process. And again, Horizon and Monster Hunter are not the only games on Earth to have that construction, but it's a really cool flow. And I think it feels like it's just the right amount of size of an open world. It is like pretty big, so you can like enjoy and run around, but it doesn't feel like nauseatingly massive to me. In the way that like I played the most recent Far Cry game and I was like, holy crap, this thing is giant. And also part of that might be my bias of like, I like the game so much that I was also just kind of combing through everything as well. Yeah, and they have a lot of fun systems. Like I love their Golden Fast Travel Pack. Mad as hell they don't have that in Forbidden West. I don't understand why I can't give you, 53 whatever, and then you can just hand me the thing. And the story, I do like the story of Horizon generally. I do think it's kind of schlocky. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not gonna pretend this is the greatest narrative of all time, but like I enjoy the story. And I love all these things so much, I don't even care that Aloy's white. I'm like, you know what? If I could, she wouldn't be just this white girl, all right? And I know there's lore reasons why she's this white girl. Oh, why? Because of the other white girl? Like, That being said, I do think that was definitely a conversation of like the way they drew on like Native American culture or like Native culture and the ways they maybe had some fumbles there. I'm not going to pretend like this is the most like, culturally integrated thing ever. I get why there are people that are like, ugh, Horizon, like I kind of get that. But that being said, I think it's an incredible game. I love this game. Yeah. It's really fun.
No, I had that on my list too. I originally had it as an honorable mention, but then after thinking about it more, I was like, you know what? No, because Horizon Zero Dawn, it didn't do anything like so revolutionary, right? Like again, the formula is already there. You can see stuff like that elsewhere, blah blah blah. But the execution of it was so good that I was like, you know what? No, this does deserve to be a formal nominee.
I do think too, it was a victim of having a name that's like very forgettable. I remember this is when I first started doing. Not when I first started doing video game coverage, but it was early in my coverage career. And I remember talking about this, like having watched all the E3 stuff. And I was like, what was this? Horizon Dawn Zero? Horizon Zero Dawn? What? And even on I had typed in the thing like on and over because I edited it and put like B-roll in the YouTube video. And I had messed it up even there, which I'm like, oh my God, because I just like mixed it up. Yeah. And funnily enough, not trying to toot my own horn, because I'm sure a lot of people also had the same take I had at the time, and then the take only evolved. But when I was doing the reaction like podcast to it, I was like, honestly, like it kind of looked like Breath of the Wild. Like I think that's gonna be that might be a problem, and it kind of was. Obviously, I think they found the success to continue the franchise and whatever. So maybe not the worst thing to happen to them in the world, but they're cursed. They always come out next to a game of the year that isn't them.
Yeah, unfortunately.
But I'll be there. I'll be there now. It's a great game.
For me, I mean, I have to throw what is probably one of my favorite games of all, like what I think is probably one of the best games of all time. Last of Us Part 2.
I have that on my list too.
I mean, it's when you think adventure, campaign, action, kind of like that Uncharted, that Tomb Raider, that not necessarily cover shooter because it's more than that, but like the campaign, a storied campaign that has shooting in it.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think it gets much better than The Last of Us. It's so good. And there are other heavy hitters that also came out across the PS4, PS5 gen. But because The Last of Us Part 2 launched on PS4, was only available on PS4, I decided to go with that.
Yeah, I agree. I have Last of Us 2 on mine as well. Similar reasons. I think it's like outside of story games, I think it's one of the best stories in a game. I know some people don't agree, and I disagree with you. Like I don't know what else to tell you. I mean, I think it's easy. And my perspective, maybe I'm just a stan, but I feel like it's easy for people to be like, I don't know, I'm sick of The Last of Us. I kind of hate. I think a lot of critics have taken The Last of Us's popularity and felt kind of like annoyed and fatigued by the fact that it's so popular. And I do think people take it to the extremes because it got so popular that a lot of people will be like, isn't this like the greatest story in a video game ever? And it's like, well, there are also games that are literally only about their story where it's like, you know, like What Remains of Edith Finch and all that. But I think like integration of gameplay and story is real good here because it really is just about, you know, without getting into spoilers for Last of Us 2, even though I'm sure at this point you probably already know what happens in Last of Us 2 just societally, but it's, you know, a story about, in some ways about hate, but also in some ways about love, you know. I think those are like fun ways to like look in and to read the text, and it's a story that inherently has a lot of violence at its core, and it's a fucking violent ass game. Yeah. And I think the only thing that is sort of odd about Last of Us 2 that I can totally like, oh, I see this point for sure, is that it's a story that's in part about like, hey, violence is bad, right? Like this sucks. This is dark times. But the violence is like the best part of the game. Like there's like the action, you know, the combat, the fighting, the shooting. Like it's a game where like violence is bad, but it's really fun to be violent in the game. So I do think there's a little bit of like a disconnect there. You can't really do anything about that really, but like it is kind of, I mean, I guess you actually can, but they didn't. And I liked it they didn't because I liked that the gameplay was really fun. But so there are a couple like at odd points. I do think in a way it feels a little too long, but also it's kind of the point. It's kind of meant to be this like, and then you're beaten down and you're like, you know, you're in it. And it's also got like a really incredible construction. I think the way that they set out the almost like chapters of the game, again, there are not like written like chapter 1, but the way they section it, I think works really well. Again, they're not the only game to do, you know, this kind of setup in what they did with the narrative. But I'm like, wow. And then when you see what they're doing, you're like, oh my God, they're doing this. Like, this is really cool. And it works well to like, you know, have these, it just everything they're doing makes sense for what's going on. And I think it helps, like the story is kind of long, but it doesn't feel long until like the last 2 hours or something, because the rest of it, like you feel like you're doing different enough stuff that it's just like got this intrigue to it. I think too that it's a messier story and a more interesting story for that reason. Like Last of Us 1, I think it's easy to love Last of Us 1 and that like, yeah, great story, cool. And then at the end it's like, oh my gosh, like, wow, you know, what do you think? What do you think? And that's cool and that's fun and it's fine and it's a great game. But Last of Us 2, it's like roll up your sleeves. I'm going to fight people over this story and like what they think. You know, I feel like there's a little bit more. It's less of a like black and white and more of a like this shade of gray. And then you mix. And then I'm like, why don't we just mix these together? You know, it's like it's got more variance. Well, I feel like so much of that conversation of Last of Us 1, it is limited to what do you think about what happened at the end? Like, did you pick A or B? And it's not pick because it's not a choice-driven game. But it's like, and then it's kind of it.
You fall into camp A or camp B.
Exactly. And this one, you could argue is like a similar setup in some ways. But I think there's more to unpack because like no one really likes either camps in a way. Like at least not fully to some. In a way, some people do. But there's more variance in the audience. I feel like, and I think that makes the story more interesting. There's just like a lot of like heartbreak and. Also just good at shooting and set like when you see someone who can really play this game, play it. It's like so beautiful. Like what's that guy who does the GIFs, like the gameplay GIFs? He was like running things on Twitter for a while. I mean, I know people are yelling on the podcast too. Yeah, listening to it. I don't know. Some guy who's good at games or person that's good at games has like these wild clips, and they did one of like the stuff you can do in Last of Us 2. I also think there's like some really almost like Inside, funnily enough. Some stuff you see in that game where you're like, whoa, this is really cool. In a way that I didn't quite feel in Last of Us 1. Like there, other than like giraffe, where it's like, oh, that's a nice giraffe, you know, but like the things.
I disagree. Well, not disagree, but like I any singular moment that like comes to mind when I think about just Last of Us, it's always Last of Us 1. I actually think the story of Last of Us 1 is much better than The Last of Us 2.
That's wild.
I think the storytelling in The Last of Us 2 is unmatched.
Yeah, because Last of Us 1 is just so much like nicer packaging. It's like, boom, I made this and it's really good. And I'm like, this one doesn't like look as good, but it actually tastes better. It's almost like that's kind of like the differential for me personally. I feel like The Last of Us 2, there's more things that I can like point to in my mind that I find to be exciting in a way. Maybe it's also because I played it more recently and I also played them near together, so it's like maybe just different feelings on it. But anyway,
I think outside of the birthday section
I
of
forgot
Last
that
of
was
Us
even
Part
in
2.
there. That was like one of the greatest things ever. Yeah,
that
like,
is the only like moment in The Last of Us 2 that I like vividly remember. Like, oh, this fucking.
That's one of like the best things ever. I can't believe I kind of low-key forgot. No, I was thinking of the I don't really want to say it because then I don't want to like give it away or whatever. But the there's something you encounter where it's like, what's this thing referred to as?
Oh.
Has like a kind of an interesting name.
Yeah.
That is like better than anything I did in Last of Us 1. I thought that was like horrific and exciting and fun and cool and stressful and just yeah, hell yeah. Great game.
Last of Us Part 2.
Yeah. And then my only we just got the same. Is it the same? Do we have the same list? God of War 2018.
No.
Oh, okay.
No.
God of War 2018. Should we just pick Ragnarok instead? I don't know. You be the judge.
So in the spirit of the list, I originally had Ragnarok, and that was what I took off to put Horizon on there because I associate Ragnarok more with PS5.
Too. I just mean like I guess we're doing PS5 next week, but like or next time we record. But so I don't know. Maybe this will kind of lose for that reason alone. But yeah, just a really incredible restart to what was already a great franchise. And I think just really did a great job at taking stuff and modernizing it. Yeah. I also think it's sort of it's not the only thing to have done this. And if you can think of any, Isaiah, that'd be great for you to chime in with like other examples of reboots. I guess Tomb Raider, would be maybe one example. But this really gave way, I think, to the modern reboot and what a reboot can really be. Because I think what's special about this versus, I think Tomb Raider is a little bit more not really shaking things up, is I felt like this really was so different in its emphasis in story, in adding dimension to Kratos, in just like him having this companion character with him all the time, and his son, while not being, I don't know, cheesy and bland. I think there's a very easy world where this game kind of sucks. And I think the team was like, oh my God, there's an easy world where this game kind of sucks. And they did a great job with it. While still having, I think, the exciting combat that we know from the original franchise. I also think it's wild that they took some really big swings that really paid off. The Leviathan axe, no chain, no blades of chaos for Kratos. Why would I ever? And then when you play it, it like all makes sense. I think God of War 2018 is a great example of if you were like a fan, a podcast, or a critic, and you pitched this idea, maybe some people would be like, that sounds cool, but other people would be like, are you serious? Yeah. Really? Yeah, that's what I want him to have. Why would you? He already has a cool weapon. What he doesn't need to, but like them kind of do it, taking the different mythology. It all just works really, really well. So shout out to God of War 2018 and an acknowledgement that yes, you fight too many trolls in the game, and they fix that in Ragnarok because they're like, it turns out you fight too many of these. Yeah,
man, it's so funny. Like I feel like so many of the picks for the PS4 are like, this was amazing and fantastic and would be like the definitive version if not for the sequel that came out a little bit
I do
later.
think Ragnarok is better. It's one of those weird things though, almost like a Last of Us 1 and 2. I do think it's hard not to feel more reverence for 2018, but at the same time, like, what do I think is better to play? Fucking Ragnarok. Ragnarok's way better. Yeah. But it's just like, I don't know, right?
But
so
to me, it's more like the Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom kind of thing, where it's like the sequel is probably like
Tears of the
technically
better to play, but Breath of the Wild is like, didn't you fall in love that day?
Yes. Yeah, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you have to you gotta give it some weight for that.
Yeah, I will say I think I am more, if we think of like a scale, I feel stronger about like my love for Breath of the Wild versus my love for Tears of the Kingdom versus. I feel more deeply about that than I do about 2018 God of War versus Ragnarok. Like I tip of the hats to 2018, but I think I don't have a problem picking Ragnarok over. Sure. But that being said, when I think of PS4 best games I played,
definitely
it's in there. So I'm like, let's throw it in there. But what was your third game?
My third one, rising from the ashes of a developer who could no longer deliver, Marvel's Spider-Man.
I had that on my list. That was on my like honorable mention. So we have almost the same list.
It, obviously when the game came out, so many people and bitched about like, oh, you feels like Spider-Man and all this other like retort and everything like that. That is just fucking idiots. But like the game does make you feel like Spider-Man.
That's why I'm like, why are you guys mad at this take?
And Spider-Man is a cool ass character.
This game I cried playing.
Really?
Yes.
What part? Well, is it a spoiler? Is that like what part?
The stuff that always happens to Spider-Man. Like, the kind of stuff he always deals with.
Okay, that's
I
fair.
thought that scene was I mean, it's not shot because it's a game.
Yeah.
But I think that scene was like done really well, like voice acted really well. And it was really sad. It's like they really made it feel like sad.
Yeah, no, that's fair.
You know, yeah. So like this is way sadder than some stupid guy in the woods. Anyway, if you cried at Ori, write in and say, "Hey, that's me," and I'll be like, "I'm sorry," and I'll do my apology tour.
Yeah, no, Spider-Man. I think like especially like as someone who loved the Arkham games, the Batman Arkham games, and was sad that we couldn't make them get on the we couldn't get them on the list for a good reason, right? They were up against stiff competition. I wanted to at least nominate Spider-Man, who like kind of picked up that like combat mantle while still giving you a world and a city that felt alive with New York City and swinging around Manhattan and web slinging and shooting up people. And again, they got the combat, you got the gadgets, the tools, the intellect, the quips that Spider-Man has. Like it delivered what I wanted out of a Spider-Man game that I didn't know I wanted out of a Spider-Man game. And without getting too much into story beats and stuff like that, like it also set itself up for some like cool sequels. Like we got Miles Morales, we got Spider-Man 2, we got who knows what's next coming
Spider-Man
out of this
3.
Yeah, maybe. So definitely like set up this world that I am excited exists and I'm down to be in whenever they give me more of this world.
I still think their best game is this game of these games they've made. That sounds like a weird sentence, but of this Spider-Man trilogy, pseudo trilogy, 2.ology, I don't know, 2.5ology. Just because I think the story is really great. I think I think they've been improving mechanically over the games. Not by a lot, but that's more because the game's already so good. I think they're just kind of tooling and tweaking and refining in ways that are really cool. And now what I'm waiting for is them to give me a story as much as good as that first one was. And not that, it's been a long time. I don't want to act like this is narrative of the year or anything like that. It's a Spider-Man game, so it's kind of, a little straightforward or whatever. But I think they had the right level of like what's going on with villains, how many kind of thing, in a way that I felt like in the most recent one was maybe like a little too much going on, but then not enough in some parts. Just kind of felt like I haven't felt a satisfaction in a story from this Insomniac Spider-Man universe at the level I have of this first one. I think it was just like very cleanly done. And again, you nailed it. It feels incredible to like zip around. And they've done some really fantastic things under that hood to like make it work that well. Also the fact that this game like works well on PS4 is kind of
crazy.
But I feel like you could give 8 million GDC talks on making this game because they did so many like smart technological things to really look at, and again, everyone's trying to do this, so I don't want to act like they're the only ones that thought let's make the game fun, But they did so many things to make sure, how can like this be fun for players of all skill levels? Like, how do we avoid, no shade to Tony Hawk, making this like Tony Hawk in the air, where it's really fun when you can pull it off, but it kind of sucks if you can't. Without making it boring. Like it's one of the only games where no one uses the fast travel. Because one, the city isn't that big, let's be real. But two, it's just so fun to get around. And then three, the PS4 loading times weren't that good. But that wasn't why people didn't use the fast travel. It's because why would I use the fast travel
when I can just swing
I enjoy the movement of just being around. To this day, there are, this is keeping the TikTok gaming live stream community alive because people will just put on an album and play this. And it's like, it's so good. It's like fun to watch. It's fun to be in. It's a really incredible game. So shout to that. That almost made my list, but I had left it off. But that was my like fourth one or whatever. Do you have any honorable mentions before we make our pick?
I have one. And so it's not a Metroidvania, but it does, I feel like, fill that same niche that like you brought with Ori. Celeste. Fantastic. One of the best platformer games. When I think of a 10 out of 10 platformer game, this is one of the ones that comes to mind. Like it is incredible how good this game is, how good it feels to jump, to wall hang, to boost, to bubble, to get another jump while in the midair and then connect to the platform and blah blah blah. Like everything about this game just feels good, looks good, sounds good. Story there too, if you want that. Great story by all means. I wasn't there for the story. I was there for the platforming, but the story is also fucking hits. It's got just enough challenge to make you want to try again when you fail without there being too big a penalty for failing.
Yeah.
Everything about this game is just smart and fantastic. The only reason I didn't put it on the list is because like we technically have other platformers on the list already. And so
I think,
it's like,
I think that's also the other reason that like we'll have to go back and do like an indie thing, which I don't want to make that like the games get their own thing because they were like little indies. But it's more so that they're so multi-platform that it just feels like weird to like have them almost represent a console because they're so multi-platform. Like I played that on Switch, so it's like that's a Switch game to me in my mind. But yeah, Celeste is incredible. Definitely one of the best platformers ever made, and the best soundtrack from one of the best composers of our era, Lena Raine. Which Lena,
dude, I put that soundtrack on.
I'm sorry, I know you really want to make something better than the Celeste soundtrack. I'm sure you might be annoyed. I don't know. Hopefully you're taking it in stride. It's an incredible soundtrack, and you know I love Lena's work on things like Chicory as well. I think that soundtrack is also incredible. But that Celeste one, like, good fucking luck.
Bangs.
Good luck. Good luck beating that. I don't know, you know. Lena's in that lab every day cooking, trying to make something. But yeah, shout out to Lena. Incredible composer there. But okay. Where do you lean? Because I started us off on the last one.
Man. I think for also like, you know, potentially what's to come, what we have, what we've looked at, I almost bucket from looking at my list, Marvel Spider-Man and Horizon Zero Dawn almost together as like filling the same niche kind of thing. It's like this world that you love to explore. You go around, you have great combat, you do this, you do that. There's a story to kind of like pull you through, blah, blah, blah. I think God of War and The Last of Us are almost in another bucket together where it's like this like just very cinematic story, good combat, these story beats that kind of like keep you pushing, things you want to explore, this world you grow to love and you want to like just see more about it. And of those two, I mean, I think the Last of Us God of War will definitely come back with the PS5. I don't know that Horizon or Spider-Man are going to come back. So I'm going to say Horizon, Spider-Man. One of those two. Get them on the list here to fill that spot.
Really?
I lean towards Spider-Man.
I'm like, what's really on this PS5? I'm like Googling this. I'm like, what's really on this PS5?
Oh, I'm just thinking about like, yeah, like, you know, other than, right, again, Horizon is very different from Breath of the Wild.
Yeah.
But I think the core elements of like what the gameplay is similar enough that we could get a feel for that like kind of open world. You're going around, bow and arrow, you're climbing things, you're jumping off, you're gliding, you're doing this and that. Like,
but
I think we can feel that later.
So what are you suggesting for this one? Like what
I'm going Spider-Man. My vote
with Spider-Man
is Spider-Man.
But you're saying Last of Us 2 / God of War will return?
I think God of War will definitely return.
Because if Last of Us 2 will return, I go Last of Us 2 over Spider-Man.
I'm okay with that. I think
we don't got no Last of Us on here.
Last of Us 2 is a much better game.
Oh yeah, definitely. No offense to Spider-Man. It's fun. Have a good time.
Yeah. I mean, I'm fine with that.
Yeah, I'm good.
I was just thinking like, oh, like, you know, as far as like diversity, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Spider-Man, I think fits a little bit better, but
I think only if we're going to be, which is tough. We don't have the 4 seconds in the conversation yet, but I could see an argument for Last of Us 2. Actually, no, I don't see an argument for Last of Us 2 on PS5 because it came out on PS4. Like, there was no PS5 when that game came out.
Correct. They did I think it was like
they made a remastered. Yeah, that was remastered. But yeah. So I think that was a PS4 game. And I remember everyone being like, "I wish they just would delay it to the PS5 because I don't want to play it on my dusty PS4." And we all dusted off our PS4.
It performed really.
It performed great. It was no problem. But it was just like I think we all just were like, "I'm tired of hearing this PS4." Thanks. All right, next up we got the PS Vita. This one will probably be faster because I don't know any of these games. I didn't have a Vita growing up.
Yeah, I realized I didn't play too many like games on the Vita. I had one. I think I just did the games that I played elsewhere. Like, there's a lot of collections that came to the Vita. So it's like, well, I don't know, like that was where I played Jack and Dexter. So it's like, well,
I'm sorry that happened to you. That's why you don't like
with it.
So another piece of the Jack and Dexter hater puzzle comes into place. Yeah, I got Severed. The Drink Boxes game.
Yeah,
I know.
I remember that game.
Usually people are like, Guacamelee is where it's at, and I've kind of cooled on Guacamelee over time. It's just kind of like it feels like it was more of a game I played than like the game.
Sure.
Looking back on it, even though I think some of the creature design is really cool.
Yeah.
Like the alebrijes they use for bosses, very cool. But Severed is like a game that I've kept the same opinion, but I'm kind of just like, you're a game that's on the Vita. But yeah, it was a first person dungeon crawler, and it very much had like an old school, you move forward, hard cut right kind of situation, and then you fought like creatures. I played it on like the DS or the 3DS or something, so you could swipe with the stylus.
Cool.
And on the Vita, I'm guessing you just use the touchscreen.
I would imagine.
Or something. I don't know what you were doing on the Vita, but it was just kind of like a cool, chill dungeon crawler that had like a nice story. It also kind of has like a Metroidvania vibe, because I think it's something like she loses her arm, but then like there's this other attachment that becomes her arm, basically.
I think it's kind of like Adventure Timey. Yeah.
So I'm like, a woman that now has some type of thing adhered to her. That sounds like a good game. So that's Severed. It's cool. It's solid.
For me, I had the only non-collection I have on this list, Super Stardust. Delta.
Stardust.
Now, I think technically I played HD more on, was that the PS4? I think it was the PS4. But I believe Delta is just the Vita version of that game.
Oh, okay.
And Super Stardust bangs.
What is Super Stardust? I actually don't know this game.
It's a bullet hell. I guess
I won't begin to know this game.
Bullet hell. Actually, no, Super Stardust. It might have been PS3, and then Resogun, I think, was the PS4. Anyways, it's kind of like a bullet hell kind of thing. You're like the ship on a planet, almost like Mario Galaxy style planet, where like the planet's small, and you're just kind of like looping around it. Like as you move it's a fixed camera to the ship, and so the world moves underneath it almost. And it's about like, killing waves of enemies, and eventually there's like a boss and all this, all this kind of stuff. Arcadey kind of game, really fun. Good time. Again, like I said, I think I mostly played on PS3 with HD, but I think Delta is essentially the same. Good time. Recommend it.
Yeah, see, we really fumbled here because neither of us have played Persona 4 Golden, which is, I feel like, the game that people are like, that's the Vita, baby. But also, well, again, I just didn't own one. That's really why I didn't play Vita games. But also, Vita didn't really have a lot of games. That was kind of one of the problems.
Yeah. I played Uncharted Golden Abyss. That's an honorable mention I have, but
it wasn't also on PSP, or was it not?
No.
That could be something. That could definitely be something.
Yeah, I guess it could.
And what would your third game be? This one, I just have the one. Like, there's just not other games that I played on the Vita.
So Golden Abyss was an honorable mention, along with Persona 4 Golden. A lot of Golden.
I could cheat and do Rayman Origins. I played that on.
I think I still
played
have
that on
on
Xbox
Vita.
One. And Legends, I also played on Xbox. But I guess I'm going to say Rayman Legends.
Yeah.
Great game. Genuinely really great game. One of the best like platformers that I think exists for 2D.
No, it's really good. I didn't play it on the Vita, but The Walking Dead season 1 was on Vita, and man, that is probably the narrative game for me. Like, if I had to choose over Edith Finch, I think it's
over Edith Finch is nasty.
Well, because of what it is, it's like if you took The Last of Us, like the heart and soul of The Last of Us, then you just made it into a narrative, like a just purely narrative kind of game. Ugh. If you took Last of Us story but gave it to the True Colors, to a True Colors style gameplay, hell yeah,
that does sound great. But I'm not gonna lie, I find this hard to believe, and I know
you gotta play season 1.
But can I briefly justify my own ignorant assumptions on this game?
No, go for it.
Because the feeling, and I know it's ignorant because it is just not based in any reality, really, it's just vibes. But The Walking Dead, in retrospect, always struck me as like the narrative game people stand because they just don't play other narrative games because the other ones look too girly. So they but they played this one because it was Walking Dead, and they're like, oh my god, this is incredible. And I'm not saying the game isn't good because it probably is, right? Everyone loves it. But sometimes when people come into genres they never play, I feel like they're like, this is great. And I'm like, actually, there's a lot of great things here. If you just look around. Now this doesn't really apply to you because you have dabbled in some of the other stuff. So I'm a little bit more inclined to like, put my Walking Dead bigotry aside for you. But that's, I think, the thing, if I'm really just being honest here at this Chili's tonight, I would say that's the thing with Walking Dead where I'm always kind of like, really, but I did play a little bit of the Batman Telltale game, and I thought that was eating as well. Just didn't finish it because it kept breaking on me, so I couldn't play it. But
sure. Yeah, once you leave season 1, right? Season 2, I started it, I didn't finish it, I put it down, never picked it back up, probably for a reason, right? I know they had like 2 or 3 other Telltale Walking Dead seasons after that. Can't vouch to those. I don't speak to those. Season 1, goated. Like season 1 is, especially now having played True Colors with you, the fact that you think True Colors bangs, I think you would think this bangs. And the fact that you think The Last of Us bangs, I think you would think this bangs. Because it's just a melding of those games.
I think too, my impression, both can be true, right? It's possible that some of those people would like more games if they played them, but they could also just be a really good game as well. And it just so happens that is the only narrative game that the vast majority of male critics have been willing to play. Shout out to the few and the proud men out there still playing these like narrative games that I love that I feel like no one covers. Okay. I guess that brings us to our end. I have 2. I don't even have a third.
I had another collection, Final Fantasy X and X-2 came out on Vita together. The one where they fuck underwater, just classic. Anytime I can try to slip that in there, no pun intended.
I can't wait. So I need to start fucking around and just play that game already.
Please, I'll play it with you.
It's kind of been like my I just have it hanging there like for a rainy day. It's like Break Glass in case of emergency. There's like Final Fantasy X is in there and like whatever.
Yeah. Again, I think you enjoyed Bravely Default, right? Which I'm sure we'll eventually get to. Yeah, I think you play Final Fantasies. You know what to expect. It's a fun time.
Am I ready to boot up another game that says Final Fantasy in it though after Rebirth?
Yes, because this one.
They are wildly different, but it's just like,
Yeah.
Yeah, I probably should. What is it on again? I mean, obviously it's on Vita, I guess.
It's like on everything. PS2, there's probably PS3 collection.
There's like a way to play it on 5
it on like a digital,
whatever.
Yeah. Anytime you want, let me know.
Another RPG. It's long though, isn't it?
Room. Don't look at. Oh, what are you doing? Don't look up.
I'm looking at it already.
How long it takes?
45 and a half hours.
Yo, but that's like a good 45 and a half hours though.
Main plus side 68. Completion is 144.
You don't need
I think the thing is I do have to finish Persona 5 Royal before I can. I think I'm banning big RPGs until this thing is done. Which I'm supposed to finish it this month, and I'm really busy this month, so I'm real scared because I'm losing like a whole week to GDC. I was hanging out over there doing some content. Anyway, okay. Of Vita, what are we picking?
I'm sorry, your pick was what?
I got Rayman? Severed in Rayman Legends. I think is the one I'd put up. It's the better game, but again, I just feel like it's. It's hard to do this one much justice with our background.
Yeah. I would definitely go either Severed or Super Stardust. Oh,
really? Okay.
Just because I think
more
another one. Sorry, another honorable mention I had was Tearaway.
I think that would be what I
mean, we can nominate that if we want to throw it up, move it up. That's fine.
I just never played it, but I know that's like one of the few ones where people were like, they actually used all that technology they had in there.
That's what I'm going for. I think us picking something that like not only could have been done on the Vita, but like being on the Vita really makes it bang and like what it is, I think is like super nice. So I either say Tearaway. I played a little bit of it. It's fantastic. Again, Media Molecule. Fun time. If you like Little Big Planet, you like jumping. Actually, it's a lot closer to Sackboy's Adventure. Or what was it? Is that the
Sackboy's Big Adventure?
Sackboy's Big Adventure. I knew there was something wrong with it.
Sorry. No, I'm wrong. Sackboy, A Big Adventure.
Okay, God.
There were many things working against this game.
I think if you like that, you would probably like Tearaway because they, obviously it came before it, but like I think there was a lot of ideas there that they. The team eventually who did Sackboy kind of took.
Sumo Digital.
Yeah. I'm down for either Severed or throw Tearaway. I'll rearrange my list on the fly.
Yeah, I think let's go Tearaway, but real quick, Sackboy Big Adventure. What do you think this has on Metacritic? Isaiah famously beat Sackboy Big Adventure with me and my whole family at the time. And it took us a million years to get 4 adults to be able to play this game. Just, time schedules and a little bit of moods. I think at one point it was my birthday request where I'm like, you fuckers got to finish Sackboy Big Adventure with me.
The thing is, the game is not bad. That's the thing. That's what makes it.
I'm a big Sackboy Big Adventure apologist. I feel like
that's what puts me in a really tough spot.
I think society is full of shit here about how good this game is.
I'm gonna go 81.
79. You're close.
I knew it was gonna be around 80.
79 is not that different from an 81.
Teeter one side or the other.
None of this really matters. But just to be like a hater for a second, I do think that should be more in that 81. I think it's a great game. Now, is it special? Is it like your world on fire? Are your eyeballs melting out of your face? No. I have to admit,
how
it just
often do
feels
we say
kind of
Zom?
And also, it's just like it's a great game, and I feel like its greatness even gets lost when I try to talk about it because there is such this like stigma that like it's not very good. But the stigma is just like y'all made up that it wasn't good. Like it's good. Like it's a great game. And I think people think I'm memeing when I talk about how great that game is, but it really is a really fun, really like well-made multiplayer. It just I think the thing is it's not Little Big Planet.
Yeah.
So everyone's like, okay, so it kind of sucks then. It's like, no, it's not as good, but it's still a great game. This is better than most games. Sackboy Big Adventure.
That is true. It is better
than
a lot of games.
The one thing people stand from that game was that freaking Bruno Mars level. It's not even the best music platformer thing. That's Rayman. Rayman has the best music stuff for its levels. But anyway, again, basically Bruno Mars, I'm hot and cold in Bruno Mars. You know how it's just been up and down the whole time. Tearaway is our pick for PS Vita.
Yes.
To clarify that, PSVR.
This one, I can go first because I only beat 2 games.
Okay.
I've played.
I think I know which ones they are.
Astrobot Rescue Mission.
Yep.
Which banger of a game. Now, I don't know, it's not a long game, but what's there is quality.
How long do you want to be in VR? Let's be so real.
Arguably fair.
I don't want a 30-hour VR game.
That's fair. And then the second game, technically, I never played it on VR. I just know it's on like PSVR. I just know it's there. Beat Saber.
Yeah.
Fantastic game. I played it mostly on the MetaQuest.
Yeah.
Which, man, that game bangs. It's the rhythm I want it, but just in VR now. Cool, great.
Guitar Hero for the other generation.
Yeah, exactly. For the Zoomers.
Yeah, that might still be too far down even because it's not even that. It's kind of old already. Yeah, I had similar ones. I had Astro and Beat Saber. Astrobot Rescue Mission. I know the haters will say, well, I mean, the next one's better. And I would generally say yes. But I think what's so cool about Rescue Mission is it works so well for VR specifically.
Yeah.
It really integrated the fact that you were in VR by having this Moss vibe to it and like you interacting like with Astro and all of that. Yeah, Beat Saber, same deal. Great rhythm game. Super fun. And then once you start breaking the law in that game, you can put anything in there. It turns out.
Yeah.
It turns out. Just really fun. It's just an enjoyable time to be in Beat Saber. And then my last one, I guess, would be I'm going to have to go with Tetris Effect. I know it's not going to make our list because we already have Tetris from the NES, but Tetris Effect is easily one of the greatest Tetrises of all time, and is thus also one of the greatest games of all time.
Sure. Yeah.
And I know it exists on other platforms, but it first really made splash in VR, and it feels great in VR. It really is a religious experience playing that game. It is like I feel like it's stoner vibes or whatever. I think it gets a little overused, especially like, not gonna lie, I know some people make that reference and it's like, you don't even get high like that. And I've been a victim to it too. Like, I'm not really out here getting high, so I shouldn't be saying it's like you're high. You don't know what being high is like. Stop saying that. But it does have like I would say it's experiential, I think. I think that's a more accurate descriptor because it's like, it's not, if I was high playing Tetris Effect, I'd just be laughing at everything. It's not, not hitting any of the pieces. Like, it's not like being high, but it is like that experiential, almost if you've gone into like what do they call it? Is it the astronomy kind of exhibits where it's like, everything's dark and they sort of bring out the whimsy of the universe.
Yeah.
That's that feeling in a game. Well done. Like that's what that
cool.
is.
Right.
So yeah, shout out to that. And then my honorable mention was Super Hot. I actually never finished Super Hot.
Honorable mention.
I've been dragging my feet on, but I've played enough to be like, yeah, that's really cool. And another one where this can only exist in VR and the VR amplifies it. I feel like when it comes to what is a good VR game, those are core components that are needed. Otherwise, it's just an annoying way to play a game to me.
I've almost to give you a nomination. I didn't play this. Or I tried to play it. I couldn't do it. And I imagine that in VR, it actually would be even better. Resident Evil 7.
Oh, yeah. I'm surprised.
Surprised you didn't mention that.
No, I don't want
Resident
that.
Evil 7.
I don't want that, though. That's horrible. I'm
but
scared.
Isn't that like the best way to
That's good for the sickos.
sickos.
Yeah, but I think we should acknowledge it. That was a big deal on VR. But I'm not doing that. Sadly, that you could still pay me to do. You know, I do that. You can pay me to do a lot of things when it comes to video games, specifically like covering games. Yeah, you could definitely pay me to play that game. There is a price. The price is probably gonna be high.
Yeah,
at least like $500 for me to do that. I'm not doing it for lower than 500. Especially if I have to beat it, 1,000. I'm not beating that game. Maybe I can knock it easy to make it a little simpler because also that game's not hard, but I had a hard time fighting Jack at one point. Like at a certain point, there's too many eyes on the monsters in Resident Evil, and I don't know where they are. And like I just don't know. And then the phase resets, and I just couldn't find all the eyes. Yeah. I just anyway. I definitely just crying in the headset. It's too scary for me. The game itself is actually really scary as well. Even watching you start to play it before you decided it was too scary for you to play.
No, could not do it.
I was like, this is even scarier than I remembered it being. I remember being like, oh yeah, this is a really scary video game. It's horrifying. They did a great job on that title, but yeah. Okay, so for pick, I assume we're leaning on maybe just between Astrobot and Beat Saber.
That's where I lean.
Does one of those speak to you louder than the others?
Oh man, I think Beat Saber is definitely a more traditional VR experience, while Astrobot is like
this is kind of cool that this happened. Kind of vibe.
Yeah, and it is good. It is very good, but I think Beat Saber is more like when I think VR.
I think
what VR is, I think Beat Saber hits it.
This doesn't make it a better game necessarily, but it's just something that is interesting to point out. It kind of does have that Wii Sports effect of like when you show regular people what a VR video game is, you put them in Beat Saber.
Yeah.
And then they're like, whoa. And they're like, oh my God. Yeah. But even if you like know the VR space, you still are like, whoa, oh my God, it's really fun. Yeah, I'm good with that. Let's lock in Beat Saber.
Cool.
Hello,
it also
Beat
hits
Saber.
our rhythm game, which is a secret goal that I had.
Yeah, I also feel like this is our apology for Guitar Hero not making it on time.
I accidentally typoed it and put Heat Saber, and now I'm like, man, that's a fucking banger name for something.
Yeah, we'll figure it out. All right, on to Isaiah's favorite console, the Wii U.
We're hitting the Janet portion of this episode.
Some would argue that's the whole show because I'd be talking a lot. Well, what do you have anything on this? Did you have a Wii U?
I do.
I forget what's going on with this.
I didn't have a Wii U. And so most of my picks are like,
is it because you thought it was
games
dumb?
that I played elsewhere, but were on the Wii U kind of situation. The only game I think officially ever played on the Wii U was Wind Waker HD.
Great game, yeah.
So I did put that up as a nominee. And then I think I played this on Switch. Pikmin 3.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah, I played that on Switch, but it was on Wii U. So I also brought that as a nominee.
Both of these were on my like brainstorm list. I actually never fully locked things in, so I'm kind of locking things in right now.
Yeah. Well, I can talk while you finish.
No, I got it ready now. But is that all you had?
And then I had some honorable mentions for
Breath of the Wild.
Breath of the Wild is an honorable mention for sure.
I think we'll probably save that for the Switch, which will probably win for the Switch, but we'll still talk about Switch games. But
I didn't play it, but if it's anything like the sequel, Super Mario Maker, I put as honorable mention.
Oh, I have another one that you played that you forgot. Captain Toad, Treasure Tracker.
Oh yeah, I played that. I played it on Switch, but yeah, hell yeah, man! Captain Toad Treasure Tracker hits.
Yeah,
that game fucking bangs. Does it bang more than Pikmin?
I personally think it does.
I don't know.
But they're very different games.
They are very different.
I could see definitely. You cannot just like if you were recommending a game to a person, just a regular person, you'd need to know more about the person and know which game you recommend because they're very different.
To be honest,
yeah,
Toad is a little bit more universal, I think, but
Yeah, I think so too. Something about Pikmin's kind of weird, but I love Pikmin. And it was a multiplayer too, and like local multiplayer in a way that I forgot what's up with 4, if it even has.
I don't remember.
Like, yeah. But I don't think it did have like a local thing though, because I remember us being like, we'll play it, and then maybe like couldn't really or whatever. But all right, my list, I got a lot. I want to go quicker on this back half of the game stuff because we spent a long time talking about the Xbox and the PS4, but I'm going to try to give myself like a 90-second. Again, the Wii U. The Wii U is an incredible console in that it has a great lineup of games. And frankly, I know people think the hardware is doofy. I know it was dumb to make something where they're like, play it on the tablet, but you can only take the tablet 8 feet away from the device. I get that part was dumb. That was a mistake. That was stupid. Everyone wanted to go further, and you couldn't go further. You couldn't even take that shit upstairs. Let alone, I guess, you know what? I thought the Wii U exposed privileges, though, that divide, the classes in America. Because talking to other people, I couldn't access it from my 3rd floor bedroom to my, you know what? I had an apartment when we had the Wii U. The Wii U, the range was the range I needed, okay? I wasn't going, 8 feet in the air or whatever, all right? We didn't all have the same privileges. But anyway, that's more of a joke thing than a real thing. But yeah, the length of it was kind of like an L. But things that were really cool about the hardware. Gamepad, shockingly comfortable. I found it really comfortable to play on, even though it is like kind of doofy and it's like a plastic, kind of toy-like, which I think a lot of people didn't like either. But it really was really comfortable. It was super useful to have that second screen, even though it was mostly only relegated to be a map. But man, map time was great. Yeah. I loved my map time. I miss having a little map there. And the third hardware nod I want to give to stuff that makes it cool is the fact, oh God, what was it? Oh, the fact that the Pro Controller was really incredible for that console. And I feel like part of why the Switch Pro Controller is so good is because they made that Wii U Pro Controller. And that's like one of the best. That was like the first, I guess not the first, because I do think the GameCube controller is really fun. But I feel like it was their first like modern design, but good as fuck. Like that thing felt better than what Xbox had. It felt better than what PlayStation had. It is so good to me. Obviously, it's always like, taste on.
Sure.
I like the sticks being a certain way, whatever, right? But like, I think it was an incredible controller. That's my shot to the Wii U. Motherfuckers hate on Wii U. Like, I feel like the Wii U, like people just didn't buy it, but if they bought it, they would have had fun. But they're like, I don't think no. I don't know why, but I think it also can play Wii games. Sort of. Another L though for the Wii U. It got fucked in the middle with Nintendo's hardware, where it could play Wii games, but you need the Wiimotes to play the Wii games. I remember that pissed me off because I bought like a game, like not always, but sometimes like, there were certain games that needed a Wiimote. So again, Nintendo's kind of always been trapping themselves with their kind of big swings a little bit. But I don't know. Anyway, the Wii U is awesome. How good is it? You had 3 incredible games to name that you played that were ports. Because the reason that we kept porting shit to Switch was because all these games are really fucking good. And I'm going to name some of those good games now. My first pick out the gate is Splatoon. I know the easy argument is just that they've gotten better over time. So it's like 3 is really the best one. But Splatoon was the first of that franchise. New IP from Nintendo. That never happens. They're very locked in on having really established, really quality IP. It was also really branching out for Nintendo. It was a multiplayer game, one of the worst multiplayer infrastructures in society is from Nintendo. And they're like, we don't care. I guess we're making a multiplayer game. And obviously it is like more of a paintball shooter. It's not like you're killing people really. But I feel like I'm killing people in that game. Like when I take out one of these Inklings, that's a body. I boom. I am knocking these kids out. I booed that thing up on Christmas time and I'm just wailing on 7-year-old children trying to figure out how to move the camera up, and a great use of motion control. Well, again, I dogged on motion control after the Wii, but one of the few instances of it where I think motion control benefits the game is Splatoon. The way you can kind of whip around the camera and move quickly. Real magic there. That's one of my shouts. Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze. I think this is the greatest Donkey Kong game that exists. You may not know our Lord and Savior Donkey Kong very well, Isaiah, but you did play Split Fiction with me. And that level that was Donkey Kong, you know how that was good? Donkey Kong also good. You know how every good game has a minecart? Donkey Kong, minecart king, out here in the barrels and stuff. Just like really great level design is ultimately what makes Donkey Kong Tropical Freeze. And Donkey Kong as a franchise fun. I also think they land a good amount of like challenge in their games as well. In a way that feels good to me. Again, that might be a skill differential for some people, but I think Donkey Kong's great in that regard. And then my other shout is Super Mario 3D World, even though I know it's not really going to get picked, especially because I got another Mario game on the 3DS that I like a little bit more. But 3D World is easily one of the greatest multiplayer platformers of all time. Yeah, and a lot, hey, you like Split Fiction? It's not going to have like the same buddy vibes, because I think what's unique about Hazelight's games is that they're it's a co-op experience that's in conversation with the other person. You're doing different things. This isn't like that, because you're just like all on the same screen. You're all kind of doing jump over this gap.
Yeah.
You also jump over this gap. So it doesn't have that same fun energy, but it's incredibly well made. They give you plenty of space for everyone to roam around. It does a great job with the things that you need to do well, which is like, how do you handle people dying or whatever? And it has another banger sequence of hard ass levels. Need I remind you, Isaiah? No one's really gonna know what I'm talking about here, because we're not gonna put the clip in the episode or whatever. But when I used to teach, and I had like this nerd club that I did as like for seminar day, and the kids were playing Super Mario 3D World, and they all got together and they're shouting at each other, and there's that energy. It's like, yes, obviously I wouldn't be yelling because I'm, well, I wasn't 30 at the time, but I'm old, so it's like not that deep for me. But like, yeah, like it really be like that. It really be like that when you're like, oh my God, you're fighting, you're trying to survive in a way that felt like fun and not, this is the multiplayer fucking me over, a la the last Mario game that came out that we were all like, this kind of sucked to play together. Like it wasn't, the numbers started to hurt it. Here, you got 4 people, smooth as hell.
Okay.
Level design, immaculate. The only ding is that's not as good as 3D Land, which I'm going to talk about later. But it's still really, really fucking good. It is like, if you like Mario games, this is a must play. Like if I could only make you play like 5 Mario games, this is probably one of the ones I'm putting in there. When we one day have our Mario episode, our Mario dedication. So yeah, those are my 3. And then my shout outs are the Pikmin 3, like you said, Wind Waker HD, Super Mario Maker, and Captain Toad Treasure Tracker. Another shout that I have that you don't have, Yoshi's Woolly World. This is one of the greatest Yoshi games of all time.
With, Edwin.
It's like, did you play Yoshi's Crafted World? And you're like, is it just me, or the level's kind of dull for half the game? It's not just you. The levels are a little dull for half the game. This is like that. So much better. So much better. It's like, how you like the look of Crafted World, and you're like, oh yeah, but it's not that interesting. What if it looked kind of better in a different way and was interesting? That's Woolly World. It's so good. It works great in co-op also. I know. I feel like a fucking used car sale. Like I feel like you're waiting. You're like waiting to cross the light, and I'm like, hey, well, just before the light changes, can I tell you really quick about the fact that Jesus loves you, and then and then do you know the Lord is our Savior? And you're like, I've heard, but yeah, Yoshi's Woolly World. It's so fucking good. I know it's again, you don't have to play this stuff on the Wii U, guys. There's other places to play them. Play these games. They're really good games. Yeah. And it's got a great challenge if you want to try to go a little more complete. Even just getting the flowers. That's all I worked on, getting the flowers. It was still really hard. And I really loved it. And it's so good. The end. That's my Wii U rant, my Wii eulogy. What stands out to you when it comes to picking from this incredible lineup of games?
Yeah.
Holy cow.
Of these, I would go either from my list, I kind of lean towards Pikmin. From including your list, I almost lean towards Donkey Kong Country.
Really?
Because I think that is different enough from everything else that we have on the list that it's like, you know what? All right, it's a platformer, which we have other one. We've seen platformers and stuff before, but it's a different kind of platformer. You know what I mean? It's not just a jump platformer. It's like a jump, shoot, barrel, charge. You got all this other stuff.
Yeah, you have the animals.
Swim. You got,
He's got his own lane, his own personality.
Yeah.
And also, he's definitely an icon of console gaming.
Yeah. Obviously, I would love Captain Toad, but
there's a lot of good games. A lot of great games on the. Would you say there's a lot of great games on the Wii U, Isaiah?
Could go Mario Maker 2. That is different. Is there a lot of good games, great games on the Wii U? I think there's a lot of great game design on the Wii U. I didn't play them on the Wii U, so I don't know if the games themselves were good.
But you did play the games.
I did play the games. And
How
those
was
games had great design. Yeah.
Did you play several to a lot?
I wouldn't say no. I played several.
When you look upon my list, assuming all the games I named are good. Such good. Would you say there are a lot of great games? You're gonna kiss the Wii U and you're gonna like it.
I want to say no. I think
we should all go around and say something nice about the Wii U.
I think it would
Isaiah,
be.
you start. Okay.
When I think of a platform with a lot of games, I think PS4, I think PS2, I think Switch. I think like if I can easily name 10 and still have like energy to name more after that, like I could rapid fire off 10 and still keep going. That to me is a lot. I don't think I can do that with a Wii U. I think after 6,
I got to 8 really easy. I didn't play Bayonetta. That's another great one on the Wii U. People call the Wii U the Bayonetta machine because that was one of the big games that people were drawn to.
Yeah.
And I guess the freaking idiots that were busy playing Bayonetta didn't play the other 12 great games on there, but I don't know. So yeah, I don't know. Well, maybe one day we can change your mind a little bit on the Wii U, but for now, Donkey Kong I'm open to. Splatoon is the other one that I personally would may volley that up over. But they're both incredible games. I just wonder, not meant to be a leading question. My bias is this is kind of where my head is at, but I'm curious how you feel about this as a Wii U outsider. I feel like the Splatoon represents the Wii U more. You know, maybe part of that is that like it was one of the bundles type of game, kind of like Mario Kart 8. Sure. Another great game on the Wii U that I didn't even name, Mario Kart 8, that originated on the Wii U, that just got ported over to Switch. Yeah. So I easily named 9 great Wii U games, Isaiah. And if I played Bayonetta, that would have been 10. So I do think it is a console with a lot of great games. But anyway,
I guess, yeah. I mean,
is it like weird that it's also like a shooter, and you're like maybe not?
It's not even that. It's just I don't know that Splatoon does anything better than other entries in similar categories we already have on the list. Like it's not anything new. It is a Ori and the Blind Forest, where it's like we got other stuff that kind of covers it, and it is better. Like the other stuff is better. Yeah, it's like, well, I don't know if the shooting in Splatoon is better than any other shooting we have on this list.
Are you kidding? When you hear that, I can't do the voice. You hear that? You don't feel anything?
I don't.
It's a shooter for the girlies.
It is cool in that it's like a more like Unreal Tournament style kind of shooting. So I do give it that. I think that is actually pretty cool. If we wanted to kind of include it with that kind of like mentality.
If Nintendo knew how to make an online infrastructure, this could have been our Apex Legends. Like this.
yeah.
Maybe not. But it does feel like guns, but yeah, we can go Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze. I don't have a beef with that. I do think that Splatoon.
I defer to you again. You played all these games, and I played barely any of these. So
okay,
it really is a you decision.
You'd.
No, it's a
we leave it up to you. Yeah, you know what? I'm gonna go Splatoon because I don't think Splatoon gets enough of its flowers, and it's a great game. And I do think
it does represent the Wii U more.
Wait, we have I think there was like a Splatoon edition or whatever. Yeah, who could forget? Actually, is there? Maybe there's not. Yeah, this thing. I mean, again, it's not like they made the console any different because fucking assholes just made that Zelda one. It looks like shit. Anyway, it doesn't look like shit, but it literally looks like you just put a decal on it, like a sticker decal. Oh, fucking Nintendo, man. Anyway, yeah, on Wii U, great time. Anyway,
Splatoon on the Wii U.
Let's talk about a console that everyone can agree is a good console, the 3DS.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. No, I mean it is also a good console. It's a console. One, I didn't like the 3D aspect of it.
No one liked the 3D. So it's okay. You're not alone.
I actively hated 3D. Like I waited and I got a 2DS eventually.
See, that's where the work gets diabolical because I didn't want that door stopper ass slab of a console.
I didn't either.
Yuck.
But I was like, you know what? It's $80. All right, fine. I'll finally get it now that they just remove the 3D.
I look at the 2DS and I say gross.
And I only ever played like, I don't know, maybe 2-3 games.
All right. Well, I'm guessing those are the 2 to 3 off the table. Yeah. So what do you got here?
The only one I could remember actively playing, Mario 3D Land.
Yeah.
Super Mario 3D Land. Great game, fun game. It is more Mario, so it is a bit of a boring pick for our list, but it is also a really good game. So it's like, all right, well,
phenomenal game.
It's also a really good game.
I think it's got some of the greatest level design, I think, in a platformer ever.
I played the game. I could not tell you a single level in there. Like no level in this game stands out as being in this game.
I can kind of give you that in that like you just kind of see the assets
Wonder,
floating around.
It could be.
I can see I can see levels in that game, not individual, not like to your point. I can't be like, oh, remember 3, 2, or whatever.
Yeah.
But I can see the layout of it.
Yeah.
Like I'm there
like the
now.
Assets and
I see the assets floating in the air, and I'm there, and I see the thing where you look at the binoculars and you can see like ahead in the level.
All right. Well, hey,
clearly this meant more to me than it did to you.
Yeah. Outside of that, I really only have more nomination or like honorable mentions. Like the Phoenix Wright comes back. I played that on.
I've been trying to get Phoenix Wright in here for a
PlayStation.
minute.
And I saw it was on the 3DS, and I was like, you know what, let's throw it on the list. And then this one I didn't play, but I really want to play this series. Fire Emblem Awakening was on the 3DS, and I believe I remember hearing like good stuff about that. So it's one of those games that's on my backlog of things to eventually get to.
They're not the same game at all, but in my mind, this is like Nintendo's Persona, and not because they're both like Japanese games.
No, I know exactly what you mean.
But they have like, it's like the people who love them are like, listen up, you chuckle fox. This is a fantastic game. Yep. I just feel like they haven't really. I mean, Three Houses was kind of their breakout hit, so maybe they are already in this. But I feel like they haven't been this studio has not metaphor refantagioed themselves to kind of like get the big attention in a way. Even though again, lots of huge fan base, people that love them. But I feel like they're great games that the fact that you and I haven't played them, we're part of the problem. So I just want to acknowledge that we're part of the problem. My picks: Super Mario 3D Land. I think the design of this game is incredible. But yes, you're right. It doesn't sit, it doesn't have the nostalgia. I think that's the only problem. It's like missing that nostalgia bit that would have cemented it more in my mind. But I remember playing this and being like, holy cow, this is.
Was this the one with the introduced
the bell? The cats?
Yeah.
I think so.
Okay. That's one. Yeah.
Yeah. There you go. 3D Land.
Also had like a big Bowser level, right? Where like he would be coming from the left or something like that? Or was that World?
3D Land. Big Bowser.
There's one where it's like Bowser's like basically like destroying the level from the left, and like you have to like continue to make progress going to the right.
Oh, it's tough to know. I did, quickly jump. We'll see what this YouTube video, all Bowser boss battles comes to mind or not. But it also like was just so cool to have such like a quality 3D experience for like a platformer on a handheld. Again, it's very specific, but it's just like usually when you have a handheld platformer, it's 2D.
Sure.
And it just like, it works so well. I thought it looked really good. Yeah. 3D Land. A better 3D world. 3D world, incredible. That's why I'm like, it's so high in my mind. Pokemon Sun and Moon. Remember when Pokemon was good and we didn't have all this hate built up for the franchise? I do. And it was days like the Pokemon Sun and Moon games. I think Sun and Moon is an incredible... What makes it a standout in the Pokemon franchise, even though I know it's not going to win because we already have Yellow, so I'm guessing we'll just kind of lead the Pokemons alone, maybe? We'll see.
I imagine we would have had a Pokemon much earlier if we were looking to double dip into Pokemon.
Well, did you play Sun and Moon?
No.
Oh, it's great.
I didn't really play the. I was like,
the
Pokemon were all weird in this generation. Like they started getting really weird after Black.
Well, just because his neck is really long. You know, like Executor, long neck Executor. You know, like that long neck.
Really weird.
No, this was good. Okay, Isaiah, picture this.
Wait, was this the one that with the X evolutions or whatever? Because I did play
the Z moves. No, it didn't have it had the Z moves where you. So this is why this game was awesome. Okay, you had the Z moves. You pull a little dance with your Pokemon.
No, you didn't.
Yes. Yeah, what are you talking about? Yes, you didn't know the Z moves.
No, you didn't.
Yes, you did. You danced.
You danced with your Pokemon?
Yes. Yes, hold on. Pokemon Z move. I'm going to look it up on YouTube and show it to you.
The series was fucking cooked.
No, this was great. I just clicked on the first one. Oh, this is actually from the anime, so I guess I have to, Sun and Moon or whatever game. It's again, there's so much stuff. Yeah, you had these Z moves where you'd like do a little dance. Let's see. Okay, I'll let this just play and you can look at it while I describe it.
Bro.
And exactly, it's awesome.
What?
So you do like these big special moves. Your special moves are Z moves. You would dance with them, and that was cute and cool. Cute and cool. That's what, when I go to Pokemon, I'm looking for cute and cool. That's what I want. This provided that. Another thing that was really cool about Sun and Moon is they introduced trials. Are you tired of Pokemon formula being so like, oh my God, I already know this. I'm bored. Check out trials. it's not a gym battle, it's a trial. Sometimes they did have a battle at the end, so you got a little bit of fighting in, but you had like it leaned more into that puzzly vibe of some of this stuff. I'm very curious which one you're looking at. And the Alolan versions, super fun. Raichu surfing on his own tail. Why didn't we think of that before? Holy cow, we went so long in society without conceiving of that idea, but we thought about it. That's fun. It made Raichu exciting. So for so long in the Pokemon franchise, it's like, oh, Pikachu mascot, he's cute. Oh, Raichu is more powerful, but he's kind of lost his personality. His personality is back. It gave Raichu a reason to be, you know? Also being just in that tropical island, super fun vibes there, vacation energy. And another cool thing, added a lot of good quality of life to the franchise. This is where we got the Pokemon that could do, you could summon, you know, the ones to like take you around, not Gyarados, Lapras. Yeah, rideable Pokemon for traversal purposes, so that you wouldn't have to have the ones that are like, okay, you just add the TM. They're known in the community as TM slaves, which is a really negative and dark and weird thing to introduce. So I didn't really want to use that term. But of course, that is what they were called at the time before we adjusted societally to be like, maybe we shouldn't be calling these TM slaves. But yes, which is the idea that you had a Pokemon in your party that just had a certain TM move, like a cut or whatever, for traversal purposes, and then you were swapping them out. They're like, that's annoying, that's stupid. Let's get rid of that. That was in here. Again, I had an incredible team. I had Miltank. I had Beware. I had some other people in there. And when I eventually can maybe hunt down my version of Pokemon Moon, because apparently Maggie has my copy and maybe she has my copy, and then I can send them back, then you'll see. Yeah, look at Alolan Raichu. Alolan Raichu. He's so cool. He's so fun. Yeah. I had a great time in this game with my Pokemon were my friends, my best friends when I played this. Even though I was already like really old when I played this game, I was in college already. I got the new Nintendo 3DS XL, that long ass fucking name, and I got it day one, and I had pre-ordered it. I pulled it to my GameStop. I was in Iowa at the time, so I had to go to the mall, and the GameStop in the mall, and I remember being there to say, I'm here to pick up my new 3DS XL, and I remember there was like a girl, like a young girl that was near me, and she was like, they were like, oh, sorry, we're sold out, and the girl was so sad, and I was like, you should have fucking pre-ordered, you idiot. I'm walking out with my new Nintendo 3DS XL, and I went, and I probably drank because I was old already. And I said, you know, fuck them kids. And I got, and I played Pokemon. And I had a great time. Anyway.
Yeah.
That was Pokemon Sun and Moon. I loved it. Then, you know, I've been going for a while, so I'll just give a tip of the hat to Kirby Planet Robobot. One of the best Kirby games. It's really up there with, I think the most recent one was Forgotten Land was the name of it on the Switch.
Sounds right.
Something like that. Kirby Planet Robobot. I think Kirby's can be a little hit or miss, you know? Like, they're usually at least good games, but sometimes it's like, is it better? Kirby Planet Robobot was one of those transcendent Kirby games. It's Kirby inside a mech. Why are you laughing? This is how I feel with these games. Am I wrong?
It is not anything you're saying. It is just the facts that
He goes inside a mech, and it's great, and it's really cool. And then tip of the hat for honorable mention, Luigi's Mansion Dark Moon. You know, super solid. Only beef is that we were all annoyed that it kind of levelified the formula. Where I felt like, oh, well, you're on a handheld. You don't really want to be exploring. It's like, no, that's like the best part of the game. So I do feel like that was a little bit of a ding, but it introduced like a lot of quality of life stuff to the franchise. And I think that's where the flashlight that let you see stuff that wasn't there came in. Don't at me, because I might be forgetting. Maybe that was the first. I don't think it was in the first one on the GameCube. So shout out to that. Which of these stands out to you?
Man,
why are you laughing? This is my real life. I really like these games, Isaiah.
No, I understand that. I have
don't have yet. I feel like I feel really intensely about these consoles, and you were like, these are things I played some of. Maybe
what do you think it should be? You know?
Obviously, yeah, we do already have Pokemon represented. This could be where Kirby makes his appearance. I don't think he's in here. And we didn't give, like, I feel like for other platformers, we don't have, like, a lot of other platformer representation. Like, Donkey Kong lost out because I put Splatoon in there.
Sure.
Rayman's not in here. It could be a good spot for Kirby.
Is Robobot, like, platformer? Or is it more like a side-scrolly, not bullet hell, but, like, shoot 'em up kind of?
Oh, no, it's still, like, it's as much as a platformer as Kirby ever is. So, okay. I mean, Kirby's never, you know,
Yeah.
You're not hitting like platforming.
Yeah,
he's not Celeste, right?
Yeah.
Like, but or
you traverse the game by platforming, but it is not a platformer.
Yeah, are you not very? Don't worry, I'm not gonna make you play it. But are you not very familiar with Robobot?
I am not familiar at all with Robobot.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, I'm sure. Well, actually, I don't know if you're adding B-roll to these. I don't want to give you more work as you're the editor of the podcast. But yeah, it was great. You can just kind of look at the. I think at this point you have to add these pictures. A picture of one of these, the dancing, and then a picture of the thing. Is it what you expect it to be?
I guess
your mech Kirby. You're Kirby, and you can set a mech, and you can take the powers, and the powers kind of get infused into the mech in a way.
I feel like that's just Kirby with extra steps because Kirby already does that.
Yes, but you had kind of this.
Also, canonically, Kirby is like the most powerful character in all of the Nintendoverse. So, like, why putting him in a robot does not make him stronger? It should not make him stronger.
Well, it was Planet Robobot. So, like, culturally, or Kirby, was it? Yeah, it was Planet Robobot. I think there's something in the lore on why he was in the mech.
Okay.
But, yeah, it kind of just. I think the thing is, it sort of, like. Re-godified him because like he just kind of has like, what if his arm was a flaming gun, you know? And like, and I think also that he could kind of zip around on the floor in a different way. But yeah, you're right. In a way, it's Kirby with more steps.
Hey man, I love Kirby. If we want to nominate like Kirby Planet Robobot,
yeah, I think that's a good spot because
we didn't get the Yoshi's Woolly World. This kind of fills that same step to me. Yeah, sure. Kirby Planet Robobot.
It's a great game. I think you would like it. Maybe you wouldn't be as much of a evangelist as I am for it. But I did you play Forgotten Land? Are you a Kirby person?
I played a little bit of the Forgotten Land on your recommendation. It was fun. It was fine.
I think you'd probably feel the same about Kirby Planet.
Again, I think since Nightmare in Dreamland, I've been like, man, I really just want to feel. I want to feel again with Kirby, and I just feel like we just get more like B tier Kirby. But that's also me, and I'm biased and uninformed and and I have no taste. So yeah, give me more Nightmare in Dreamland. I'll take that.
Sweet. All right. Well, can you read off what we have for this generation?
So for this generation, which was the last generation
at the time of recording.
Yes.
For all the people listening to this, when we had the PS7, you know.
On the Xbox One, we have Forza Horizon 3. On the PS4, we have The Last of Us Part 2. On the PS Vita, we have Tearaway. On PSVR, we have Beat Saber. On the Wii U, we have Splatoon, and on the 3DS, we have Kirby Planet Robobot.
Nice.
It's pretty good. It's a pretty good list. Pretty good list. This is honestly, there's so many options for this generation across. I feel like all of these platforms. Some not for me, some not from you, and it was just PS4
hard.
was.
I think because the PS4 is such an easy dub, I can see why you looked across the aisle at the Wii U and said, "We'll get this garbage out of here." But there's great games on it. But yeah, the PS4 was very stacked. I'm sad we couldn't put more of the PS4 because I feel like the PS4 was so like. I mean, consoles were king.
Yeah.
The PlayStation was dominating. They were out here like doing 360 dunks on everybody. It was kind of crazy. But yeah, that was our time capsule for this generation. It was definitely quite a bit longer, but also had the most amount of consoles outside of maybe the really old one that we had. Yeah. But also like the most consoles combined with like us having knowledge on all of the games in a deeper way.
The more recent it gets, the easier it is to recall. It is to recall things. Yeah. So.
Versus like, what could I have said about Castlevania Portrait of Ruin besides the fact that there's a book that you can hit people with. I forgot. And now for our not game section, we are talking running. We had a write in from Anna or Anna. I forget when it's two N's. Is it?
I don't know.
Okay.
I think it could still be either.
Anna/Anna, apologies for one of those mispronunciations. I wrote in and said, hello, Jan and Isaiah. After listening to your latest podcast, this was months ago at the time, just to be clear, I fully support Jan talking about distance running in a future pod. I am a newer listener to the Gangcast, but have been loving it. I am the min-max listener who asked the question, who would win in the 100-meter dash? And I think that was just a question about like me versus Ben. I don't think it was like the whole crew or whatever. the grand debate of like someone who trains a lot or someone whose legs are just long, like, which like I don't know. I'm not
yeah.
It's an interesting question that we said we one day would find out over on MinMax. We'll see. But yeah, that brings up the topic of running. We're gonna break down, what got us into running, why we run, things we've learned running, all of that stuff. And I think this is gonna be especially interesting. And one of the reasons we kind of waited on this, we weren't like waiting for Isaiah to start running because it wasn't, you're not running for content, but it was kind of the, okay, no rush. Like I can talk about this anytime. And now you definitely are more in your running era. So it's kind of like the perfect time. And we have, at the time of recording this, a race tomorrow. At the time of this going up, the race already happened. Hopefully better results than every time this fucking Galaxy keep playing. And this is, I don't want to talk about the Galaxy. Anyway, Isaiah, what's up with, what got you into running and why do you run?
Yeah. So for me, very, I feel like normal, someone I know, in this case, it was you and Edwin and your dad, and you guys were runners. I met you, originally I just met you back in SF, and you were a runner, and we did a couple races while living in San Francisco. We did like a couple 5Ks, or just like we tried to even start like a IGN running club. I don't know if you remember.
Yeah.
We
ran.
We did like 2 or 3 times or something like that.
At least, yeah. We were putting in those miles.
I used to be very fit growing up. Very. I joke now that I am incredibly out of shape. Hopefully that changes.
It just seemed funny because I was drinking my water and it just was a bad look.
So yeah, used to play sports and do this and do that, and then eventually fell off as you just become an adult. You get busy with life and work and things like that. So in San Francisco, after meeting you, getting back into running a little bit. It was a great time. Started picking up running again a little bit. Would try to get my a nice 1 or 2 mile run in at least once a week for a while. And then when the pandemic hit full swing, I think is when really just all the running went out the window. We moved to LA. There were much other bigger issues at hand than trying to worry about when and where I'm gonna run. So it kind of just fell to the wayside. And like a lot of people, I also just gained weight over the pandemic, from just like lack of exercise, lack of going out more, things like that. So, however, now that, I'm not gonna say the world is healthy, but now that we're able to go outside normal and work out and do more and have outside activities, I've wanted to start getting back into shape and like doing things that I used to find fun and enjoying. I would love to find like some, local rec leagues and stuff, but for the time being, I've been sticking to running since that's just something you could do solo or with a partner in a group or whatever. Still active, still healthy. You can get outside. You could also do it indoors. I know we have like a little walking pad, and I have to imagine most gyms have like treadmills that you can run on and things. So for just the ease of access, running has kind of been the thing I've picked up first, while getting back into healthier habits. And it's been fun. It took me a while to like, I'm incredibly unconditioned, and I even as a kid I've always been unconditioned. I've been incredibly strong, very fast. I used to run track and field and do shot put and basketball and rugby and all this stuff, but like 10 minutes in, I'm usually like huffing and puffing. I don't know if it was like a childhood asthma that just never really fully grow out of or what, but I get winded incredibly easily. And one of the things I've always been jealous of you about is that you can run these just long distances. And to me, that was always just like, man, so just run miles, like with no breaks. What are you talking about? What do you mean? So I've been trying to work towards building up my endurance, long distance running, taking cues and tips and stuff from you and Edwin and everyone, and just like slowly getting better at that. With my first official 10K race being tomorrow.
Yeah.
That's fun. I'm not sure how that's going to go.
I've
ran a handful of 5Ks now.
It just depends on which we haven't talked about this yet. I guess something definitely you want to think about before tomorrow is what are you planning to do? Are you just going to make it a regular run? Like, I just want a good, strong, like what your goals are for the race, which, I mean, you're welcome to share them now since we are just talking about running. Like, are you looking just to have, a good fun time? Are you looking to have a certain feeling like I want to end feeling like I still have gas in the tank? Or do you want to say I want to go as hard as I can and see what I'm capable of doing? Like, where are you kind of landing?
Having never done that distance before in a race setting, I've done it in training now, but I recover fairly quickly. I know I just said I have no endurance. I get gas really easy, blah blah blah. But I recover also pretty quickly too. So I'm not worried about like finishing with gas in the tank still or giving it my all. Blah blah blah. I want to finish I want the experience of having ran that far to feel not detrimental. Like I want to go slow enough that I continue to want to do this. I want to be able to be like, I'll sign up again someday. But I don't want to go so slow that I'm like, I mean, I really feel like I just was walking. Like I want to feel like I did a good pace. I kept up the energy, kept the distance going.
So would you want to be going faster than your normal long run speed?
A little bit faster than my normal long run speed.
It sounds like then what you're looking for is like strong and steady vibes.
Okay, yeah. I mean, I'd sign up for that, yeah.
It's funny because, and correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think I am. It's funny when your eyes get big like that, where you're like, oh, what are you going to say? I feel like and this makes sense for who you are, you don't really buy into like the hippy dippy stuff. No. I think you think that stuff is kind of dumb.
Dumb is strong, but I don't buy into it. But what do you mean? Why do you say that?
I say this because what I would recommend, but you're not going to want to do it because you're like, let's do it, is that as you're running, you're kind of like reminding yourself of that. And you kind of come up with like a little affirmation that you like say to yourself in your head of just like strong and steady, feeling good, something to just ground yourself in the desired outcome and live in that desired outcome. Mm-hmm. That's like, part of what I would recommend. With a little bit of like slight clock watching, I think you should probably have a pace in mind. Then I would take today to just look at your what do you run on? You run on just like Apple Fitness, right?
Yeah.
Just look at some of your Apple Fitness data on your long runs, especially the ones that are, I would say, 4 miles or more, because I think it's more representative of 10K, 6 miles, a little bit over 6 miles. So I'd look at that and then kind of pick a pace from there. So I'm making it up. Like, let's say on average you're running like a 16-minute mile. Maybe you want to aim for like a 14. And if you did, there's also a lot of you can do the math yourself, but I find it easier if you can just Google like pace tracker or whatever, and like I would mess with that and look at like what would your average have to be, but then also try to lightly math out maybe like some speeding up elements. So I would maybe like pick a pace, like your first mile, like I'm making up the pace, right? Let's say you want to land at like get a 14 or a 14-minute mile or 13-minute mile. Maybe I'd start more at that like 14 if I want to land at a 13, but then in my mind, part of that would also be faster than that 13 because again, it's got to average out.
Yeah.
But also just kind of depends on what you're looking for. Maybe you are going to have, because you can get faster without getting massively faster. Like you can have like 1650 versus 1630, but like just kind of keep some of that in mind. So if you do want a steadier arc, you can do that. You also have to remember that you will naturally be going faster, and it's going to be very tempting to go very fast at your first mile. And you're going to be, you could do something like, you could do a lot of speeds really because you're fast enough to do them. But like you might say, okay, I want to run a 13, and you're running and you're like, oh my God, I just did 10 minutes. I feel great. And yeah, you do. But, that is a dangerous and common mistake that a lot of people make. So, I would just kind of keep that in mind. And again, you can look at your watch for that kind of stuff. I think definitely too, it might be good to just get in that practice of setting out to hit a time at a race and being able to like achieve that time. Obviously, we're still doing a very rudimentary version of that because it's not like we trained super well for this. But, it's not like the cleanest race trajectory that we had. And some of that was us. And then some of it was also just LA literally caught on fire. We didn't go outside for a little while because we were worried about the ashes in the air.
Yeah.
Little things, which the race even got moved for that reason. So, and then we're like, oh, great, extra time. And then we didn't use the extra time that well. So whatever. But yeah, that's stuff I'd recommend. For me, what got me into running, I got into running because my family ran, so kind of same story. My brother and my dad would run. So I saw them run a lot. I didn't really run myself until I was more like in that high school range, but I'd been seeing them run since I was like, my dad had been running since like before 2002. He's probably been running since like 2000 or something like that. Maybe like a little bit, because I know 2002 or 3 was when he ran his first marathon. So he had to have been running before that time.
For some time.
Yeah. Because I was like in 2nd or 3rd grade, or maybe even 1st grade. Dark thing. I remember it was like, where was 9/11 during that? I'm like, I do remember that kind of being in that, that kind of age range and all that. So, Yeah, so he's been running for a really long time, has been running this whole time, hasn't done a marathon in quite a while. I think his last marathon I was either in college or like just out of college. I kind of forget. I have
It's still impressive.
If I hunted for it on Facebook, which maybe I will at some point, if I can get Facebook to open, you know how Facebook is. I could see like where, because I went to his that marathon. I remember him doing. So yeah, and yeah, he's still running. He's still doing more miles a month than me. He's like 60 something or something, whatever. Yeah, so he's been really into that, but he was never like like do what I do. I think in part because he does have like that old school mindset of like, I don't know, like women's roles versus men. You know, I don't know. He kind of more of that sports bonding was with my brother.
Sure.
But also, in his defense, I wasn't really like a sportsy person, but also he was the witchy nurture. So yeah, that was kind of the dynamic. It's not like he was ever really like inviting me out to runs or pushing running on me, but I just started running and he's been, you know, cool with me running and as encouraging as his style is. He's a kind of hands-off guy. So
yeah.
But yeah, we've done me and my dad have done races together and like we've done long runs together plenty of times. So that definitely has been part of like our lives and our relationship. But I've also ran a bunch of my own. I ran in college. I dormed in Iowa, so I was on my own there. Had like some friends that would run and things like that. But you know, I never did like track or cross country, which I regret. I probably should have because. But it's like,
I think it'd be pretty good, yeah.
The days would be, oh man, those kids that did sports, the days were so long too.
Yeah.
I wasn't about to, but yeah, I kind of do. If I could go back, I would have dabbled more in sports formally, I think. I think that would have just been a fun thing to try. And I run because it feels good to do. It's a nice little, I think if you're a gamer, you would like running and that it's like you get something done. I think gaming has a lot of that satisfaction. And also, it degunks my brain and my soul. I feel like I kind of have to run at this point in my life. I don't think I could ever live a life where I didn't run at all. Something about being out there in the open air, you know, you're off the phone, you got your music or a podcast. Maybe you freaking, you know, raw dog the run, you go solo, you got no headphones. You listen to the birds and stuff. I don't do that a lot, but I've done it before. You can see these good views. And I think that it really boosts the spirit for me. And I kind of hate that it does because, like anyone else, I don't want to run. I don't really want to go out here. It's a lot. I don't know. It feels nicer to do nothing. But if in your mind it's nicer not to run at all, but nothing's ever better than like having ran. I've been running for minimum what would be 20, at least minimum like 11 years pretty regularly. More if you count like the earlier parts of my career in high school. I have literally never in my life gone on a run and been like, I wish I didn't run. Even the runs that I had a training run that I got injured on at the end and I still wasn't like, I wish I didn't run. It was just kind of like, the injury felt kind of separate from like having ran, you know, kind of vibe.
Yeah.
Literally 0. They're so good. And I can get that benefit off of like literally a 5-minute run. Like it's maybe not as like, you know, enriching as like a longer thing is, but yeah, like I need it. It fucks me up if I don't run at least a little bit. I'll get more like if you chart my moods and things, I feel like you can tell if I'm not running. And part of this also I think in my head from my dad was always very big on that. That's why he started running actually to like, you know, improve his life. He was making some changes like in who he was and he wanted to like be a better person. He's like, I'm going to hyper focus on running instead of like worse habits that I had, you know? And for him, he's always told me that, like, you know, again, he's not a very big, like, let me give you some fatherly advice or whatever, but like his one thing is like, oh, make sure you're like running, go for a run. Like it's gonna clear your mind. And he would always say like, I've solved so many problems just on a run, you know, just thinking things through and having time or whatever, you know. It's got this real Mr. Miyagi energy to him. I ain't gonna lie, I'm not really solving problems on my run. Like I don't know what he got going on, but I do feel like, yeah, that helps keep me good. And I do think it's one of those things where you get like hooked on running and that's why you end up needing it. So I know some people be like, I'll just never run, then I'll never worry about not feeling good. But I've even seen that in you now that you've been training more where I'm like, I think you just need to go to do a run.
Sometimes it turns
out off the dust.
Turns out getting outside, getting some sun, getting some air, moving the body helps. Like, you know, like you mentioned, there's been, I don't know, countless times we'll go to the gym and I don't want to go to the gym. The night before, I'm in bed. I'm like, I don't want to go to the gym tomorrow. I don't want to go with you. I don't want to go. But I go, of course, and I run. And at the end of it, you're like, oh, how do you feel? And I'm like, I feel better. I hate that I feel better, but I feel better. You're right. I do. And it's like, sometimes the journey to a place you want to get to sucks in your mind, but then you get to the place where you wanted to get, and you're like, oh, fine,
what a good time
here.
this was.
All right.
I think too the what was I gonna say? I think I like the feeling of running also, like the mechanics, like the body mechanics of running are satisfying to me.
Yeah,
like with the movement that you do, and the fact that when you run fast, which I don't do a lot of fast running, I try to hit certain times for certain things, but that's kind of it. It's the closest you can get as a person to flying, which I think is fun.
Yeah, that is.
Yeah, and I feel like I feel like
jumping.
I mean, if you're doing, I guess the thing where it's like you run and you do the hurdles, that's probably like the closest or whatever. Yeah. But I guess if the pole vaulting, I'll give it to the pole vaulters. You're closer to fly, or the gymnasts, I suppose.
Yeah.
The closest I can get to flying is running. Yeah. But yeah, it's got like a nice
ski jumpers. They
All right, it's the closest I can. You're right. I say there's more. Skydiving. But yeah, it's got a good feeling to it. So, what are your current running goals? What are you looking to get out of the sport?
Honestly, for me, it really is just trying to build endurance, trying to up my distance, which again is doing right. I mean, I don't know. Have I ran the most miles I probably ever ran in a single given day is probably like in high school rugby or something like that, right? Where it's like soccer players, right? Like they run
like 6 miles though.
Fucking stupid long. Yeah, like in a game, you know what I mean? So like if I had to guess, it's probably back in high school, but I think competitively I would like to challenge that in a more modern day where it's like, okay, I want to get up to like 10 miles. Like that to me would be like, oh shit, okay, cool.
Can I just do 13.1? Okay, yeah, the half marathon
could be cool. Like I want to build up to that. Almost in a like a non-toxic, like I still got it kind of way too. Like I don't like the thought of my best physical self being high school me. There's something about it like that just sounds.
You need to update the analytics after a while in your life. Obviously there's some exceptions.
Sure,
I get it,
right?
But it's like
after a certain age, it is going to be downhill. But I don't think I'm at that age yet. You know what I mean? Like I still think I got gas in the tank. You know, where I can push myself hard and lift more and do more. Yeah. So
I think too, like when people talk about your physical body like deteriorating and things like that, which on one level is like kind of factual, but on another level isn't necessarily. Like it just depends on how you might not have taken full advantage of your younger self. In terms of like your physical ability. So those are ways that like people there are those stories of people in their like 40s and 50s, like still PRing, like still having like peaks. But then also I think sometimes people do end up using, actual ailments or disability situations aside, like not counting those because those are obviously a different thing, but kind of use it as just like an excuse to be whack.
Yeah.
Like, well, I'm not 20 anymore. It's like, but like,
but you're 32.
You can still, and like you're fine. Like you're in good health for now. And then I think too that can end up being like an inadvertent, not self-fulfilling prophecy, but it's like that's also something that has been important to my dad as well. For like, he's like, I am so glad that I can still like run and do everything. And again, some things are uncontrollable. I'm not saying like, oh, if you're having physical ailments, I'm lazy. Like definitely not what I'm trying to say. But one thing he's always drawn to, he's like, I think running is what has kept me able to do what he's doing, like he still gets around without like needing any additional assistance.
Yeah.
His mental faculties are all there from what I know. He's unfortunately still working. I mean, like that's kind of an American problem though, it's like, but he's still able to work and he works a job that has a significant physical component. It's not as physical as like, construction or something, but he works in the hotel industry, like doing stuff. He's moving around and giving people things and working on things or whatever. And he's like, I think that's a big part that's running. Even like 10 years ago, this was like something he was talking about where he's like, there's so many people my age where they're like, they got so much more wear on their body than I do. And it's because like one of the things could be because they don't take care of themselves in the way that they maybe you should. And it is more work also though to take care of yourself as you get older, where it's like, so you might not bounce back from injuries easily. So there are additional challenges, but I don't think that means you're, I think people like hang up early with a lot of that stuff where they're like, oh, well, I'm 30. So like, I guess I'm 40 or whatever, but you can do a lot of things. And again, you don't have to always be PRing either. Like I'm sure my dad's PRs might be behind him, but he doesn't really care. He's not really tracking that stuff. He's kind of just running. He just runs because he likes to run. He gets some good run in, and it's all good. My current goals are the Abbott marathons.
Yeah.
Which are, for those who don't know, how would you describe what the Abbotts are as a test for you listening to me talk about
I know they recently changed things up some. So the Abbott marathons are a branded collection, or I guess they're branded, right? There's some organization, the Abbott organization, that dubs some marathons as the Abbott marathons. And I think traditionally, up until like maybe last year or something like that, there were 6 marathons that were part of the Abbott core marathons. I think it was New York, Chicago, Boston, LA, and then like Paris and maybe Tokyo or something like that. Where if you did all these races, you would get like an Abbott marathon medal or something like that. Like you can apply for it, or they send you like a plaque and you put all of them in there. I don't know. It was something funky where it's like, oh, like you did the 6 that we care about, that we dub the Abbott marathon, then you get this cool thing as a reward. And I think last year they did something where like they added like 3 more as like Abbott organization marathon. Like they grew the number of marathons that they associate themselves with, but the core 6 are still there and like are almost like a OG marathon class or something like that. It's like the Avid OGs or
it's like the game and New Game Plus, where it's like you get the platinum still, but like there's technically a platinum I guess you can get on New Game Plus if you wanted to. That's basically what it is. I mean, frankly, I don't got the Abbott World Majors organization lore memorized either. I'm not really sure like who makes this up, what entity it is. I actually don't know those details off the top of my head.
Whose pockets are getting lined?
No facts, because anyway. It's always money. Originally it was 6-star. They added a 7th, and I can't remember. I read the press release at the time. I do think the plan is to go up to 3 more total from the 6, but they're doing them like slow rolling that. Sure. So right now there's only like the 7th, which I think the 7th is Sydney.
Okay, I was gonna say.
I think Sydney is this. Yeah, it says new next to the tab. I have them pulled up on my laptop. Tokyo, Boston, London, Berlin, Chicago.
Not New York, but London.
Yeah,
the other one's all right.
Actually, though I'm surprised. There's really not. I thought there was a New York, but now I'm looking.
There is a New York Marathon.
Well, yes, but I could have sworn New York was in here. Did that change? Well, I'll look into that more later. Maybe it did change because I remember wanting to go to New York for that reason. Maybe I don't need to go. Same. Free no trip to New York.
Yeah.
Okay. But yeah, I'll have to double check that because I thought because when New York was in there. But yeah, they also technically have a 5-star finishers, but I don't think you get the medal for that. But you're on the leaderboard. They also have a board where it's like for all of time until the servers go down. I don't know. My name's in there. And yeah, it's just kind of a cool little thing. It's worth knowing that the Boston Marathon is the only marathon in there that you have to qualify for. You technically can run it no matter what if you run for charity. But I want to be able to qualify for it because it's really hard to qualify for it. And it would be a big challenge for me personally to be able to do that. So want to do that. And I want to get all new PRs, following the I still got it toxicity, we want to call it that. All my PRs are in my 20s. I want fresh PRs. So yeah, we'll see how that goes. I am going to work on the 10K first.
Are you going to hit it tomorrow?
Hell no. If I hit tomorrow, that's both like exciting and sad for my previous PR because that means my previous PR must have been ass. Or also, I do think I have a base strength that is stronger because I've ran a marathon, and back when I did all those PRs, the farthest I'd ever gone was like a half marathon. So that's definitely something, and that does help with speed. But tomorrow, I will probably go as fast as I can just to see what it is as a new baseline of like, hey, this is like almost like how like when they're doing like crazy athlete testing, they're like hook them to that machine, they're like this is our calculation. I kind of want to get that. Again, it's not going to be cool. Like the best I can do because I know I can train better than I trained. I have not been training like that well, but I'm curious like where am I right now? I guess I'm significantly weaker than my PR. I don't think it's a bad thing. I just kind of want to get a sense of what's going on right now with the 10K because it's been a long time since I've done that distance. I've mostly been doing, especially done it with any actual effort put into it. So yeah, probably just see what happens with it. What are your like running essentials? What do you need to run, or what do you personally use when you run?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I learned recently that actual running shoes are incredibly
The
nice,
era of you
incredibly
listening
useful.
to my advice has been so vindicating for me.
You say that like I never listened to your advice. It is that I'm
specifically the running advice.
I definitely listen to your running advice
now.
Before I was, I had my running shoes, which were just like, I don't know, whatever Nikes I got at the outlet, whatever most recently, right? I had some like trail shoes and some other like kind of like hiking boots and things like that. But for running shoes, it was always just like, I buy sneakers. Like sneakers is a thing that I have in my rotation, so I'm just gonna like take an old pair, maybe turn those into like old basketball pair or something like that. Turn those into what I'm gonna go to the gym in and stuff like that. And so it was always just like, oh, whatever. I never had like, I think I only have like one before, like a pair of actual running shoes, and even then they were like more like track running shoes as opposed to like outdoor form, like nature, out in the wild running shoes kind of thing. But most recently, as I was training for this 10K, started getting my miles up, and around like mile like 4, once I got around to reaching that, I was like, man, my feet hurt after I'm done running. Like they hurt like in a non-normal hurting way.
Yeah.
Like they are
pain instead of soreness.
Yeah, it's pain instead of soreness. And so we ended up going to like a Fleet Feet. Shout out to Fleet Feet. Got some
I would die for that Fleet Feet sponsorship.
actual
Let's go.
Good running shoes. And yeah, no, they got, man, talk about day and night change.
Yes. In your light defense, because I mentioned the running shoes to you prior, but you seemed really convinced that your running shoes were fine, and I'm like, hey,
and they were up until a certain distance.
Yeah. What was up with the shoes that made them like better to you?
I think it's just like there's so much more cushion with them. They're kind of like built and shaped in a way that the issue I had before is that like when I was done running, the top of my foot was hurting. I'm assuming because of like the lace, like where the tongue and laces and stuff is just very, I don't know if it was just like extra thin, or the shoes were very light. Like they were a very light, bendy, again, racetrack kind of shoe where you want to be as light as you can because you're trying to just go for maximum speed. The running shoes we got recently, they're cushion padded all around. Like they are built for long distance and comfort more than just speed. And so I think just giving me that extra padding, the extra cushion, the extra, I don't know, bubble technology, whatever they have going on in there, just made the difference. And yeah, no, I'm running further than I ever did before and feeling better than I ever had.
I was so jealous when you got those new shoes, because I'm like, I know that good feeling of those new shoes. Do you know offhand what your shoes are called? I don't know if you can.
Not offhand, no.
If you can pull it up, that's cool. If not, don't stress too much about it. There's some form of New Balances. I know that. But yeah, and some people also prefer a thinner shoe as well. So that's also why I try not to be too prescriptive on like what running shoes people should use. I think my catch-all advice remains the same. If you really are just getting started and you don't want to do a larger financial investment yet, I think a good cheap solution is to just go to like a big shoe outlet depot kind of thing, like a Dick's Sporting Goods or shoe pouch, like wherever, and look for Asics are the cheapest like entry shoe that I see. Shoes typically are cheaper when they're like last year's model, like they're like way cheaper than they are when they're like the latest thing. And then just go ahead with that. Same deal with like they also have like Brooks and other like popular running shoe brands in there. Kind of like a cheap hack. I don't know if some people would think this is like slimy or not. I don't think there's anything wrong with it. If you want more of like a sense of what you should look for in a shoe or what kind of brands you might like, you can go to Fleet Feet and try the shoes on and not buy them, like I don't know if, I imagine Fleet Feet doesn't dislike that, because I feel like you're still getting like positive brand associate. Like I can't imagine them being too mad at people doing that. But that's my recommendation if you want kind of that tailored vibe, but then you want like a cheaper price, because a good running shoe from like Fleet Feet will usually cost like around $130, maybe $150. Cheapest like $110 or something. So it's not like an insignificant amount of money. But yeah, like it's great because Fleet Feet, they do the whole nine. They'll like scan your foot and have you walk, and all of the people are like very knowledgeable, and the selection's like really good, and it just feels like it's just like, it is like what, this makes it sound like almost like a boomer, but it's like what shopping should be, you know, where it's like you go in, you need something, someone helps you out. And it's like, there's not, I don't know. It doesn't feel like without this weird like pressure of like, you go to like a Foot Locker and you like ask to see shoes.
I feel like I'm annoying someone when I go to Foot Locker.
Like they bring out like 8 different sizes, and then the guy's kind of standing over you, and you're, you know, you're kind of like sitting on the floor to put them on, and there's like a family running around you. Like it's very like, I don't know. The vibes don't feel as good versus Fleafy is more like a boutique kind of thing. So it's a small store, not that many people in, you know, it's kind of luxurious.
In a weird way, it's very different, but it's almost like going to a GameStop versus just going to a Target. You know what I mean? It's like one is like, oh no, like the people there are about this. They're knowledgeable. They're super helpful, you know, hopefully super helpful. And, you know, you can ask questions and they'll generally know, like, have some information.
Versus
they
at
can
Target,
give you.
They're like when I pre-ordered the Switch
they
at Best
pulled
Buy.
me over from the clothing, like the women's section.
When we pre-ordered the Nintendo Switch at Best Buy, famously, they did not know what we were talking about. Now, in their defense, we like came like right after it got announced. But my brother Edwin had to pull up the SKU for them to type in because they were like, I don't know, man. I don't know what this is. It's not coming up. And we're like, I know that you sell this. You need to help me. Which, hey, that's Best Buy's problem. Not like Best Buy could have better that if they invested the money to have people that were, you know, knowledgeable on that, like they do with Geek Squad and all that. But anyway,
also for the record, the shoes that I got are New Balance Fresh Foam X 880 V15.
Fancy. I'll pull up mine too.
Very long.
Do you have any other like running essentials that you have? I know you have your hats.
Yeah,
big hat
I
boy?
like running with my hats. I'm a big hat guy in general, and I have like some fitness hats that, you know, are tighter, thinner, kind of just keep the forehead drier while you're running, keep your eyes shaded. Music, I think, is a big one, right? I mostly just run with my AirPods now.
Same.
If I'm in the gym, maybe I'll do like overhead headphones, or like, you know, growing up, I used to do overhead headphones in the gym. Still would now, but just the fact that the AirPods are just kind of like always in my pocket. They're always with me. They're good. They stay in when I'm moving. The
thing I don't like about over ear personally for running is I feel like, well, maybe, I guess, I don't know if you feel this way about over the ear, because I know you like also sweat more than me. I don't like getting them sweaty.
Yeah, that's also, I mean, that's a part of it for sure.
So like,
yeah, I had a pair dedicated to gym, like 2 active kind of headphones. And with that, I'm usually listening to music. I know my friend Arthur, who also runs now a lot, he recommended this one.
Oh yeah, that like it's like a story or something, like a long story
on Pocket FM, which is the app he uses to do it. He listens to My Vampire System, which is like a audio show. He'll listen to that while running. For the other nerds, also, hey, not games. He says it's like a little bit like a solo leveling story, but like in a vampire kind of world. So like if you are someone who's into anime, you like a nice fantastical, maybe like some action or something is in there. Maybe something to check out. I want to check it out. I'll have hopefully more to say then.
You're like, actually, it sucks.
Yeah.
No, I don't know.
I know Zombies Run was like a big thing growing up that I would try and I would do. That was always fun. And then also just like, you know, music podcasts. I know for you, you especially when you were doing your marathon, kind of like lead up and planning and stuff. That was like a really hard, or not hard, but like it was definitely something you had to like think about. Like, what am I going to run to? Like,
for the marathon. Yeah, I did first half podcast. I did the Giant Bomb Game of the Year from whatever year that Guardians of the Galaxy game came out. And then after that, I did some music. In between that, though, I did have to charge the headphones because they're AirPods and they just don't last long enough for a slower runner to run a marathon. I'm sure the speed demons can do it.
The 2-hour people,
but some of them, they're probably not even wearing headphones. They're like on some other shit. And then not to put essentials in your mouth, but I think I have mine hanging up, but you have like a like a belt.
Yeah, like a little running belt.
Belt.
It's got like a little pouch thing where I can put like my phone and keys, and then it's got 2 water bottles on the sides, so I can always have water. I actually don't like that in the sense that because I'm running slow, the water just ends up warming up just because it's next to my body for like, I don't know, 45 minutes. By the time I'm drinking towards the second, you know,
I guess it's always gonna be next
towards
to your
the
body.
end of the run.
Even if it's in your hand, you're holding it.
Yeah, but I don't know. Something about
You might want to. You're welcome to try it
works.
out. You'll have to make sure that's not like nasty, like moldy.
The Camelback?
But yeah, I did clean it before. It's not. It's never been cleaned. But and I have another cleaning. It uses like a special like solution tablet or whatever. I have what you need to clean it again if you'd like to. Maybe the Camelback because you can really fill that up just with ice, and then just like. And honestly, I do think the vests still have bottles in the front. I think I will be moving to a vest though and trying that out. I've never tried the vest. But the Camelback might be good because you can just dump a fuck ton of ice into there.
Sure. Yeah.
So I think you actually probably would really like that.
Probably.
Yeah, you should try it. I mean, I imagine that there's a chance. I'm not trying to be rude. You're just a lot taller than me. You're bigger than me. I think there maybe do come in sizes technically, but I think you can. I think you'll still fit on mine. I don't think it's that wild, but there might be like I don't know, a small and like a large or something. And I have the small, but that's a quick check. But yeah, I would recommend you try that out. I've had that thing since like 2011. And that the wear on that thing is incredible. No issues on that. Yeah, my running essentials are basically the same as yours. I did now try out the like kind of belt with the drinks, which I've never really done before. I'm okay on it. I think I do prefer being more wearing stuff on my chest and back more than my waist because I do feel like it tilts my hips in like a way, or I don't know. I'm not in love with it, but I've liked it more than I thought I would. I also wear running shoes. Obviously, I was looking at mine earlier while you were talking, and mine are the Hoka Clifton 9s, are what I'm currently running in. I've ran in a bunch of brands. I don't believe in brand loyalty for running shoes. I think you should just always try on and just see what feels good. Personally, because I think they always are making different like cuts and styles and stuff. But some people were like big into their Hokas or their Brooks or whatever. Other things for me. So I think the baseline essential that you need for running is just a good pair of shoes. That's basically all you need at the end of the day.
Hopefully shorts.
I mean, you can kind of wear whatever, obviously there's like better, you get like a nice like sports bra versus like, a t-shirt. But like, I feel like some of that is like, you figure it out. Like there's not really, to me, other than making sure you wear like a weather wicking stuff, that's more of like a bundling or whatever. And yeah, like that I think people can largely figure out on your own. It can be tough if you're running in like cold ass weather and like getting and bundling right. I think that's the time that like clothes come into heaviest play. But the second thing I probably would add is like the water, like we talked about, because I would say obviously if you are thirsty, you should drink water. That's kind of the baseline recommendation. But the way I run, and I'm curious if you have like a methodology when you drinking water when you run, I like to I don't start drinking water until like 3 miles in or something.
I mean,
or I drink every 2 miles. I kind of forget. I think I drink every 2 miles.
My mileage is never that high, so I don't have to ever worry about that. It's just more, I find I don't get thirsty or feel like, it's not even that I get thirsty. It's more like, oh man, my mouth's kind of dry.
Yeah.
That doesn't hit me until I'm in like, well into like the second half. Like usually if I'm doing it out back, it's like on the way back, I'm like, oh, I haven't drank any water yet. Yeah, my mouth is kind of thirsty. Let me, take a little bit while I'm at this red light or something,
So you're more like casual vibes and like
but I imagine as the distance gets up.
Something else though to look at for running, check the course for tomorrow, the race. You always want to just think about where you want to get water at. Do you want to hit every aid station? Are you skipping some? And if so, which ones do you skip? And just kind of keep that in mind. And then being mindful of like water versus Gatorade. Are you only going water? Are you only going Gatorade? Are you mixing and matching? Like what do you, and then be careful which one you grab because you're like, surprise, this is also a lot of times it's Powerade dominating the race,
which is
market,
crazy. I'm surprised,
which sucks because I'm like, I don't want Powerade, I want Gatorade. But yeah, definitely you want water because you need it because it's good for you and it keeps you good and healthy and safe. And then other things that I recommend after that, I think the next thing I would probably recommend. Tap between a yoga mat and a foam roller. I think it's good to have a place to stretch. I know you are very. I don't think I've ever seen you stretch after running, and I hate stretching also. But I've invited you many times to stretch me running. I don't think you take me up on it.
I feel like that's the walk back. What do you mean? I'm doing my stretches.
Well, actually, I mean, one could. I don't think I've seen you ever do a leg kick or anything, but it is good it's good practice too. Before you run, after you run, it sucks. It's annoying. It's boring. But it is good for you. I've been better about this year, but I've been lacking the last couple of runs. Another thing, and again, these are things I'd recommend after you're like, you know what, I like this. I want to do this regularly. How can I like improve or, whatever, or help my health? Foam roller. You can get a really cheap one. It just like off the internet for probably like $10, but a nicer one is like 30. So it's not too bad. There are obviously like really bougie ones. Like there's ones that like Therabody makes where it's like you roll on it and it's electric and it can like massage you and roll around on its own like BB-8, but but for baseline stuff, I'd say long enough to maybe like do a good back roll on it too. I use it a lot for rolling my back. That's also stuff that you can do pre and post working out. Like foam rolling is definitely a part of that kind of stuff. Other stuff, they have this thing called the Stick. The Stick is the brand technically, but plenty of people make stuff like this. It's like a, what do they call it when you make the dough?
Like a rolling pin?
A rolling pin. It's like a rolling pin, but for your body. So it's got like ridges. So, different ones are made out of different things or have different like texturation, I guess. And it's just for like giving yourself a massage, but without, obviously having to use like your own hands to like knead your muscles. You can kind of just roll out, little knots and things, loosen up the muscles. I think some people use it as like a warm up thing or whatever. I think I brought with me. Did I bring it? Yes. The thing you always make fun of me for.
Oh, yeah.
Tell me what this is.
It's called Squirrel's Nut Butter.
Which is the apostrophe makes it worse, actually.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess it's an anti-chafing. What is it?
Salve.
It's like a little deodorant stick that you rub on like the back of your heels and stuff to your heels, your Achilles kind of.
I think more of just like something that's chafe or blister prone.
Yeah,
I haven't checked on like. Is it safe for like nipple use? A lot of people get nipple chafing and stuff like that. That has not been my experience personally, but I feel like my feet aren't always the best. And at one point I'm like, I need everything. I had a not full injury, but I had like a foot flare up issue close to the marathon. And I said, we got to throw everything at this problem that we can. I was like, I'll do anything. I'll do all this stretches. That's the other thing too. I think as you run, the reason I suggest start out with just the shoes and like a bottle of water and we can add more later. It's because you'll also just get to know, like, what do you need? Like, you and your shoes, for instance. You're like, I'm kind of cool with these. I'm like, hey, you're going to, I wasn't pushy because I figured if it works for you forever, hey, I don't know, you're weird. If it doesn't, you'll kind of figure that out and see that come to play. I have other stuff that you can, like, experiment with. Like, I have I have no idea if this is anything. I feel like it's a scam. Cool and Fit muscle therapy spray, where it's supposed to like warm up or cool down your muscle. It can do anything. It's it's like a magic spray, but I don't actually know how much it helps. But I know like soccer players have like a magic spray they use. So I'm like, there's something behind sprays. I don't know how good this one is. And then if you get really far in distance too, Fuel is going to be a thing that we introduce, which is like the Goo brand, which is spelled GU. They're like little like pace. It's like it's like a Go-Gurt. Without the coldness and the yogurtiness. Yeah. It's just the Gurt. And the I also really like I forgot the name, but there's like these waffles.
Oh, the little honeycomb waffle things?
Is this the brand Honeycomb?
I don't know.
It's like I think they're called Stinger. I think Stinger is the brand.
That sounds right.
Yeah, Honey Stinger. And they make a thing called an energy waffle.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just a little like treat. They're also great for like if you're an outdoorsy person or even just like hiking.
Yeah. Take one hikes you
can heat it up a little bit. What you do is you have like if you have a coffee, like a hot coffee, you put it on top of the hot coffee and it like heats it slightly.
That's cool.
So yeah, outdoorsy crew or whatever. Yeah, I guess what are your do we want to do anything on racing specifically before doing running tips, or do you want to go straight to just running tips?
I don't have enough
for races. I feel like I kind of touched on some of what you should do for a race. We can maybe do like, especially let us know if you're craving more running content. Maybe over time we can do like a racing thing specifically. But any running tips that you have before we close out our segment?
I think the thing that I learned from you and really kind of
he says with a gun to his
started taking to heart and like leaning into and embracing is if you want to run fast, you got to run slow. Or I forget like how it was you phrased it, where it's like in my head, again, growing up, I was always track and field. It was all about speed. I never did long distance. I never did cross country. I thought those guys are stupid. They wake up at like 6 a.m. and run for an hour and then go to school afterwards. No, you get that out of here, trash. But I think as I'm starting to get into that, it's like, oh, like if I want to go far, I need to go slow because that'll help me go fast. And it's like, well, go slow. Find your paces. I still don't know all of my paces. Like your your 5 out of 10, your 8 out of 10, your whatever, like your mile time,
celebration pace,
your 5K pace, your 10K pace.
A lot of people in Naked Run Club are Australian.
Yeah. These I'm still trying to find and like hone in on what they are for me, but just the knowing and embracing that they exist and that being able to pull those out and like reference those is just very nice and helpful to have. And yeah, just, have fun with it. Some days you're going to wake up and you're going to not want to run. And it's a day maybe you should if you're like training for something in particular. Some days, like the other day, I woke up on like Tuesday and it was like rainy. And I was you know what? I don't want to run in the rain. I'm going to go Wednesday instead.
We live in LA, so it doesn't rain very often.
Yeah.
Unless it's pouring rain, I run in the rain because you need to be ready for anything that comes at you race day. And
I'll deal with it race day.
I will say though, I guess I don't, it's hit or miss. I'm like 50-50, maybe like 60 or 70-30. Like I do lean on not running in the rain as well. Because it also can be dangerous. You could slip and fall.
Yeah.
Same thing for like, snowy or icy conditions. But yeah, I'm not as rain averse as you are. Well, like if it's raining, like Isaiah's not going to be out there.
The idea of stepping into a puddle, I will stop running. That is it.
See, you're like a little bit of a diva. Yeah, so that's funny. But yeah, I pretty much echo that. Yeah, because I think that's the biggest mistake people make, where I think also on that note, to sort of add to what you said, my running tip is to, go slower than you think. And again, to emphasize what you said, like get to know who you are as a runner and don't like let go of your preconceived notions on what slow is and what fast is, because slow is probably a lot slower than you think it is. And fast is always supposed to be contextual to you. Like there are, even now, like many, many, many runners that are way faster than me. Some having ran way less years than me, seemingly without trying, they roll out and they're like already hitting like, 8:30, minute mile. And I think it's easy to like, I don't know, make that like, that should not affect or come into your training or your running experience is the thing. I think a lot of people will look at that stuff and be like, well, oh my God, like I can never do that. That's so crazy. Like it doesn't really matter what everyone else is doing because it's like running is personal to you. Outside of, again, if you're on like a team, that's like a different thing. But then you probably won't make the team if you're too slow. It doesn't really matter, So like, yeah, I think people just prescribe that stuff to them too often. I think also let go of both be more okay with and less okay with stopping or walking. I think there are people where they are so obsessed with hitting a certain distance. They're like, well, I'll just like walk big like giant chunks of it. And that's like maybe a little too much depending on what your goal is. But also like walking is not the bane of all anything. And I don't walk far, but like when I drink my water, I'm walking. I'm not running while I'm drinking my water.
Sure.
It's a couple of seconds. Like it doesn't, do anything. Yeah, there are other times where maybe you hit a hill and you can't do it. You gotta just walk up that hill. That's rough.
Yeah,
but that's I think sometimes people like make arbitrary badges of honor a little bit and just like be careful, such aware. I don't think there's anything wrong with saying I've never in my life ran a mile without stopping. I want to do that. There's nothing wrong with that. But I think sometimes people's goals and their fixation on their goals stops them from doing what it'll take to reach those goals. Like I think a lot of the times too with running, people think they will achieve their goal by immediately just doing that one goal. So they're like, I want to run fast. So when I go out to run, I'm running as fast as I can. And if I just do that over and over again, I'm going to get faster or like be able to go farther. And on a technical level, that you might make some progression on there, but you're not going to progress as well as you could if you had a better training plan, and you're going to be risking things like injury otherwise. I think the other element too is like, don't think a singular pain point or issue means that you just can't run. I hear from a lot of people who don't necessarily have like deeper conditions. Like I can't run, my knee is funny. It's like, well, I mean, maybe like obviously you can talk to your doctor, right? But like there can be things you can do to work around your weaknesses and ways that you can integrate other elements of training and living to help with that. Like I've had different injury points and I tend to now, I basically take every injury I've had and I turn it into like a regimen a little bit to work on building strength and thus preventing further injury. I have weaker spots on certain things. Like my IT band was a big issue for a while and then like whatever. But yeah, I think those are my main tips. And don't be afraid of running. Don't let people tell you that, like, oh, running destroys your knees. It's another misconception. Like, oh, if you run, your knees are going to, like, explode. There was also a negative trend, a beauty trend going on TikTok of, like, do you have runner's face? And, like, if you're a woman who runs too much, you're going to get ugly. That's stupid.
Oh, my God. What?
Yeah, it's like, oh, well, like, the sun exposure in the court. Like, bro, like, that's dumb. Obviously, I can unpack that more if you want, but, like, that's the short answer. That's dumb. So don't let that get you down. But yeah, running is great. It's really fun. You're outside. You can soak up the sun. You can listen to your music.
Yeah, it turns out it's a really good hobby.
And when you run races, you can get little medals. How often as an adult can you get a medal? Not that often if you're not a professional athlete.
And then like free snacks and stuff afterwards too. It's always
and they give you a little thing and people cheer for you. Literally, like, when's the last time someone cheered for you? Some of y'all not ready to ask. But like literally, like, it doesn't happen because, like, I mean, even like sometimes you and I jokingly cheer for each other, like, yay, good job. But like, how often is that really happening? And that's us. We have each other. Yeah. Some people, not so many people, like, and nothing's wrong with that. But like, there's a lot of cool stuff into running that I feel like people forget because they think they hate running. I think the very last thing I want to say is people hate running because they don't run correctly. And not even just in the mechanics, but like, yeah, if you've only ever ran in gym class because you were talking on the bleachers with your friends and you're being punished and you're not running and you're tired, like, of course you're going to hate running because you only like experience it in negative conditions. Or again, you go out there and whenever you go, you're going really fast or even you're going faster than maybe you should. And then you get like gassed and you're like, see, I'm bad at it. And it's like, you're not bad at it. You just need to work your way up and make a progression. But some people have never tried to do that. So they're like, well, the thought of doing that. So it's kind of this cycle. Again, not everyone needs to run, but I do think I dream of a world of converting more people because it's fun. And I think people, it's easy to be like, that doesn't sound fun at all. That sounds really shitty. And that's a fair opinion to have. But is there something that you do that might be making this shittier than it needs to be? You know, maybe you haven't seen the fun that's to be had with running. So yeah, join our cult of running, our little running cult, little running group. Yeah, that's all I have. I wear sunglasses when I run sometimes. All right, that brings us to the poll of the show, which I don't know if it'd make the poll too long, but if you have space to throw in something on, like, do you run for sport or how do you, you know, see we got any runners out there in the community? But yeah, we've been doing these as like, what do you put in the time capsule and showing like our options and like allowing for write-ins and stuff. So last week we had the Wii and Wii Sports took it really nice, 50%. AKA we had the right pick.
Yep.
Nintendo DS, pretty split. Let me know, Isaiah, if I'm missing some like weird combos or something.
No.
Pretty split with Mario versus Zombies, Plants vs Zombies, and Mario and Luigi Bowser's Inside Story. It's been a long pod, y'all.
Yeah. I was actually surprised to see other people were on the Plants vs Zombies train. I love that game, but I just didn't expect. I didn't know if it would hit the general audience. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And then everything else was like split down the middle.
Yeah,
it's like
all
one Brain Age, one Castlevania, one So we got the PS3. Overwhelmingly, it's The Last of Us, which I do think.
Which fair.
The Last of Us is the most PS3 game.
Sure.
Even though I do think Portal 2 is like the best one on PS3.
It's still better,
some love for Uncharted 1, of course.
Yep.
And a little bit love for Little Big Planet.
Yeah.
PSP also another split vibe. Final Fantasy Tactics. People are coming for the War of the Lions.
Yeah.
And my people, Loco Roco 2.
Yeah.
So
had some Loco Roco in there. And it was like pretty split across like a couple other things. You know, Little Big Planet, PSP, Patapon, Kingdom Hearts. Love seeing Kingdom Hearts right in, you know?
Yeah. Was it just a collection or just like the one? Or
it's like a PSP game.
Okay.
Like
one of those like lore specific, but no one played it. Kind of.
Yeah, very much so. Yes, okay. Which is like all of these spin-offs.
Yeah, all the handhelds. Yeah. Xbox 360, we had in the lead the orange box. As the right. Yeah. I know the orange box. I know it's like that's so 360 culture. The orange box.
It is.
I feel like the orange box is cheating though because it's like a bundle.
It is a bundle, but I mean,
to your bundle, I say nah.
Hey, I respect it. BioShock it tied with BioShock, so it's like all right, well. The what we went with is still pretty. Actually, no, we went with Dead Space. So Bioshock was a really just close second.
I think one thing we should do though, I don't know if you could write this down somewhere so we remember. I came up with like 8 ideas during the break and I didn't write any of them down, but best collections. Or like kind of shouting out collections, like kind of because we don't have collections anymore. I feel like that'd be honest. Really. People don't make albums. We don't have collections. I missed the collections. It was really fun. For the not game section, which I do kind of like the idea of I know you came up with this, the games poll and not games poll. I do kind of like that idea. You think it's good?
We can keep going with it.
Not games. Jan's entering her anime era with Freyren Beyond Journey's End. Let us know which animation you should watch next. And overwhelmingly, 37% said that time I got reincarnated as a slime.
Hell yeah.
Followed by Spy Family.
Which is also a fucking banger show, yeah.
And the rest is, we got Ranking of Kings, we got a Mobile Suit Gundam, The Witch from Mercury. I have a lot of doubt.
I haven't even watched that. I don't know if
I'm a Gundam, I like Current Planet Robot.
Yeah, you were talking about this Planet Robot all this.
I know a lot of mech people, but I don't know. I feel like those aren't who I am. I look across the aisle at the Austin Walkers, the Katos, and I'm like, y'all seem like Smarty McSmarts, and I feel like I align with different people.
Yeah, all right.
A dumber group of people. And then we also would love to know Jan's thoughts on Dan to Dan. I know that song.
I want to watch Dan to Dan too, so.
I'm not going to lie, Dan to Dan. I'm going to let you go for Dan because I heard.
I was going to say, I do hear it gets a little weird, a little creepy.
I heard they begin a little strange for the change.
Yeah.
And I will say, because I don't know a lot about Dan to Dan, so I don't want to misspeak on what is happening. In that show, what I have heard about that show wasn't necessarily that it was like creepy, like and maybe it is. I don't know anything about it. I haven't heard that like, oh, it's got weird like underage, like big titty, whatever. Like I haven't heard that, but the thing I heard was that they do like sexual assault stuff a lot. And from this is just something I heard, maybe it's not true. Like and that like it's to the degree where it's like, why is this always here? Like, kind of I heard it was kind of giving like David Cage. Like that's what I heard basically. Where it's like, why does David Cage always have like a scene of a woman being abused? It's like it feels like he really wants this in all his games. Even though again, that in isolation isn't inherently like an automatic red flag, but in the context, I feel like some people have been red flagging Dan and Dan. So I'll send you out there and you can report back.
I'll try it out.
Yeah, you'll have to let me know what's up with that. All right, and that's it for this week. You can send us your questions and topics to the email inbox@gamesandnotgames.com. We do get to it sometimes months later, but it's on the list. It's in a doc.
Yeah, we get to it.
It's in a doc. We've had this plan for a long time, this running thing. So please continue to write in and let us know what you want to hear about, what questions you have. There's also a spot in the poll form for you to just kind of do a general write-in.
Yep.
We all know that no one wants to do anything. Maybe you also be like, I don't want you guys knowing who I am. Like, you want the anonymity, which is hard for me to say. Anonymity.
Anonymity.
That's another thing we should do words we can't say and words we can't spell. Or they're not for the not game section. You can follow us, the podcast version of the show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify Podcasts, and everywhere else you get your podcasts. If you enjoy the show, be sure to give us that 5-star review.
Cinco Diamante. And if you like the audio version, remember that you can also get the video version over on YouTube at Games and Not Games. If you like the video, be sure to give it a like and a comment, as it helps us grow and get in front of more people. Also, selfishly, let us know if you have any thumbnail feedback. I recently changed up the thumbnail. I'm trying to find a better, good a real like thumbnail template that works for us and like I think looks good and everything on like small sizes, big sizes, blah blah blah. So also give us a follow on social media. We're on BlueSKy at Games and Not Games, pretty much everywhere at Games and Not Games. And until next time, gang,
gang,
peace.